Not having lived up to expectations with his gacha skill, he was not only betrayed but also kicked out of the upper world. These fools did not yet know that this was only to his advantage. He will rise from his knees again, but already in the lower world. Will he be able to pump up his useless skill? Let's find out. This story begins in Reziel, the capital of Rakand. The time has come for the Count's fifth son, Crest Bahurst, to gain his skill. The skill that was bestowed upon him was called Gacha. He was riding in a carriage with his father, and he thought about how in this country where he lived, when a teenager turned 15, there was an evaluation ritual where God would bestow a skill upon the person. Looking into the future, God's dream, his family's jaws almost dropped when he told them about it. After his birthday, his mother died. His life cost the protagonist's mother her life, so his family hated him. They considered him a symbol of evil, a common sinner who could be isolated at any time. But even so, he lived quite well, and all thanks to Ellis, the daughter of the Earl of Rayfield. To be more precise, MC was only alive because of such a useful political tool as his marriage to Ellis. The Duke's daughter is a beautiful girl, looks good at first glance, but in reality she is a sadist. He was bullied terribly since childhood, such a strong killing intent. MC was sure that the girl was tired. There is a reason why she stopped bullying him. That reason is the skill Gacha. The nagging may get worse if he starts using the skill. But he can't be scared forever. These terrible days that he had to endure will end today. With his new skill, his new life will begin here. His father called out to him with a happy voice, saying, "The church is already in sight." The protagonist looked at him. He saw his father so happy for the first time. They arrived at the church, both got out of the carriage, and were met by Ellis. The protagonist was surprised by her presence. He heard that she was not feeling well today. She smiled at him and replied that on such an important day of her betrothed, she could not help but be there. And then she asked him sarcastically, maybe she had disturbed him? MC protested back. How could she disturb him? The girl smiled and asked him, wouldn't it be useful to have such a good skill like his? He thanked her and expressed his hope that this skill would be useful to her too. She said goodbye to him, telling him that they would see each other again, and left. The protagonist was slightly puzzled. How could she not be angry with him for these words? His father called out to him that it was time for them to go, and MC approached him. They entered the church, and from that moment, his new life would begin. The priest told him to put his hand on the stone monument. The protagonist put his hand on it, and the word Gacha appeared on the monument. His family present in the church talked among themselves about him, saying that there are rumors that he can accumulate skills infinitely, and indeed, Gacha. His father asked him to show him the skill right away. MC nodded in agreement. He extended his hand, visualized the Gacha screen. He noted to himself that the screen was very bright. It said that he could be a doctor. The protagonist looked around and thought that this screen must be visible only to him, because there was no reaction among those present. He turned to them and told them that now in front of him was the Gacha screen, and he could spin it. The protagonist thought that now his new life would finally begin. He just needed to spin the Gacha. All the people in the church turned to him, and he realized with horror that he could not spin it. It did not spin. The screen showed that he didn't have enough points to complete the task. 500 points were needed, and he had 0 points. He frantically thought, what points? Why isn't it spinning? After all, he could spin it in his dream. How could he get these points then? His father asked him to demonstrate his skill to them, but MC told him that it seemed like he couldn't use it now. His brothers suspected him of cheating, that he was trying to deceive them. The protagonist tried to justify himself by saying, no, he's not cheating them, he really saw it in God's dream. They asked him, why isn't he spinning it then? MC said that he didn't have enough points to spin the Gacha. The brothers laughed and advised him to go and earn them. The protagonist lamented, why was it not written anywhere how to earn these points? Why did they not say anything in the dream? His father irritably said that he brought great shame to them. The protagonist tried to justify himself to him, but his father interrupted him and exclaimed, wasn't it enough for him to kill his own mother? Now he decided to blacken the honest name of their family? MC again tried to say something in response to him, but his father interrupted him again. He told him to shut up, called him a disgrace to the family, and continued that he would definitely not forgive him this time. He shouted that he was banishing Crest from the family. Ellis was dejected, because she could do nothing to help her betrothed. She could not change anything in this situation. She thought that Crest was really stupid. The brothers, on the orders of their father, took the protagonist outside the city. On the way, one of the brothers asked him, did he seriously try to trick them by making up such a lie for them? The second brother told him that if he had listened to him, he would now be living in a prestigious house somewhere. The protagonist asked the brothers for a sword, but they told him that the original reason for sending sinners to the lower world was to subdue demons. He objected to them, that if he went there without a weapon, he would definitely be killed by some monster. The brothers still refused him. They were ordered to treat him like the sinner that he was. The protagonist began to persuade them. He told them that he would kill as many monsters as possible so that he could recover. He wanted to make the upper world a safe place where people could live for a long time. His speech touched his brothers, and they handed him the sword, for which the protagonist thanked them. They said goodbye, and MC left. The brothers watched him go. It seemed to them that they would never see his face again. The protagonist ended up in the lower world, where monsters live. In the upper world, there live people united by one magic circle through an indestructible gate. They are the only ones in the world. Crest knew that the transport magic circles were used to send criminals to the lower world. They are sent to random places, so they do not return from here. He thought, what should he do now? Suddenly, a terrible sound was heard, and the protagonist saw a wolf in front of him. These creatures are larger and more ferocious than ordinary wolves. They are not afraid to attack even armed people. MC was the best in his class at the Night Academy. He once fought a monster. But the monsters of the upper world are weaker than those here. He resignedly thought that most likely his swordsmanship will end here. He muttered to the wolf, saying that he had to appear so early. Crest entered into a fight with him. He fought as best he could. He noted that he cut the wolf's face, but he did not even flinch. In the lower world, fighting is a natural instinct. Finally, MC gathered the last of his strength and he dealt the creature a decisive fatal blow. The protagonist thought that he had to move much more than he expected. And his sword was good too. It was worth that awkward request. He looked at the dead creature and decided to just bleed it for now. He heard that monster meat was very tasty. Suddenly, something like a cloud appeared above the wolf's body and something was drawn on it. The protagonist looked closely and realized that the picture showed 100p. He was puzzled. What did this mean? He knew that when a person kills a monster in the upper world, this does not happen. He guessed to touch the gacha screen and saw that his 100 points were located there. The protagonist realized that points can be obtained if you kill monsters. This meant one thing. His failed skill is actually useless only in the upper world, where there are no monsters. He lay down on the ground and was indignant. If only they had told him that this skill was difficult to use in the upper world. He doesn't know, maybe he would have come here to the lower world anyway, but at least he came with equipment and treatment, although, maybe it was for the best. He remembered his angry father and the sidelong glances of his brothers and Ellis, how his father expelled him. The protagonist thought that it was too late. He didn't want to accept anything from these people. He went through so many pathetic events and humiliations to have what he has. MC would be very angry if he didn't get the skills. Crest decided he could make gacha work. He just needed to find more monsters. He studied survival, but he finally had hope. He would survive here. He would not die. Meanwhile, Ellis missed the protagonist in her mansion. The protagonist suddenly remembered Ellis, their last event, how he argued with her. She asked him if he was really that stupid. To think that he was trying to raise his position with a stupid, God's dream. She looked at his displeased expression and asked him if he wanted to tell her something. He told her that she was probably glad that she had to break off her engagement with an idiot like him. The girl told him that she couldn't say that she liked his attitude, but she was still trying her best to save him from here. The protagonist looked at Ellis, puzzled. What did she mean? The girl told him that she meant exactly what she said. She smirked, because he was her dog, her toy, her slave, so she couldn't just leave him. He asked her how she could help him. She took off her shoe, held out her foot to him, and ordered him to kiss it. Like, this would show her his devotion, and then she would return their engagement, and after the wedding they would get out of this country. The girl added that she would also destroy the Rayfield family for him. Ellis hurried him to show her his devotion. She held out her foot to him again, and he indignantly pushed it away from himself. The protagonist rudely suggested that she go somewhere with her lordly manners. He is not her slave. The girl was outraged by such behavior of MC, and she irritably answered him that, if he was sent to the lower world, he would definitely die there. He rudely cut off her speech. He suggested that she get away from him. He had already decided everything. Ellis told him with resentment that he should remember what he told her, and let him just try to come to her after all this with his tears. After that, he fell ill and had to go home to rest a little. Ellis, meanwhile, asked her maid to prepare her things for tomorrow. She was going to meet him tomorrow. The maid felt awkward. She did not want to upset her mistress, but she still told the girl that the protagonist was sent to the lower world. The girl was amazed at this terrible news. Meanwhile, the protagonist killed the second monster. he noted to himself that he was becoming sticky with sweat. MC thought that there was a large cluster of wolves in this place. His ability, his gacha, is a super rare ability that allows him to have an unlimited number of skills. But in order to spin the gacha, he needs to defeat monsters and collect points from them. One wolf gives 100 points. He needs 500 points to use the ability, so he needs to kill at least 5 wolves. At first, he decided to spin the gacha as soon as he got the required number of points. But if the creatures are caught one by one and without any problems, then he can easily collect a lot of points. So he changed his mind and aimed for 5,000 points. He ran to find wolves and thought that he could spin some cool gacha. Light body, he heard that this skill depends on the strength of the body itself. It looks like he is drifting above the ground, as if he is heading towards his goal and hope. Along the way, he made 37 kills of creatures. He was jubilant because everything is going to be that he will easily collect these 5,000 points before sunset. He decided to look at the screen to see how many points he has already collected. The protagonist was stunned because the screen showed him that he only had 25 points. MC got angry. Where did the points go? Why were there so few of them? And why weren't they increasing? He forced himself to calm down because there was a reason for everything. He started to think about what the problem with his hunting was. Maybe it was because each creature had a different number of points? The protagonist looked over the killed monster and realized that the space above it looked like the interface no longer showed the points. Crest thought maybe it was because he had been hunting too much. He should have looked at their number earlier. He thought tiredly that someday, in the light of the sun, he would still earn 5,000 points. After all this, he changed the hunting place. He hunted goblins. Then he hunted fanged rabbits. Goblins are very easy to kill. They are very weak. On the other hand, fanged rabbits, with them the attack occurs like with a small wolf. But they are very nimble. It is difficult to hit them with a sword. He muttered that ever since he was sent to the nether world, all he did was fight monsters. MC imagined how quickly he would have died if it weren't for his skill. He looked at the screen again and almost jumped with joy. The desired number of points appeared on the screen. The protagonist was jubilant. Did he really succeed? He decided to see what was there. 3 PU points, probably healing, appraisal, cultivation. Surely, all of these skills are very rare and require high levels. Usually, only one skill is obtained at the appraisal ceremony, but here he can get all 3 skills. The protagonist wondered what to do. Spin the gacha here, or hide in some safe place? MC still decided not to wait any longer, and spun the skill on the spot. The result of his manipulations made him surprised. There was a chest on the ground, and the interface on top showed a command for him to touch it. He pressed the inscription, the chest opened and balls flew out. The protagonist counted 11 of them. He was puzzled. Were these all the skills? It looked like there were different variations of the balls. One of them was copper-colored. He touched it, and the skills Speed Spell Level 1, Strength Spell Level 1, Enhanced Magic Level 1, Strength Level 1 flew out of the ball. MC couldn't figure out, were these all the skills or a change in skills? He couldn't understand just because of this, and how should he continue? Crest decided to touch the silver ball. Sword Mastery Level 1, Short Blade Mastery Level 1, Mastery Level 1, Dig Level 1 flew out. The protagonist delightedly noted that this ball had more tempting skills. But how can you check whether sword mastery only works on one-handed swords or not? He decided to touch the third ball, the golden one. From it appeared Fire Magic Level 1, Earth Magic Level 1. He couldn't believe his eyes. These were magic skills. With such magic, survival was a piece of cake for him. And finally, there was the rainbow ball. Crest thought that a 3-point skill hadn't dropped yet, and touched the rainbow ball. From it appeared the skill, Appraisal Level 1. The protagonist rejoiced. Everything looked simply gorgeous. He needed to try how it works now. He didn't want to lose skills anymore. He remembered that he supposedly needed to imagine the name of the skill in his head. And he imagined the skill, Appraisal. What happened next made MC open his mouth in surprise. He realized that he could evaluate absolutely everything he looked at. He picked a fruit, and immediately he evaluated it. The visual interface showed that it was a peach. Its weight was 152 grams, its moisture content was 137 grams, its caloric content was 70 kilocalories, and there was no poison. It became clear to him that as the level increased, the number of items that could be identified would increase. But he was very happy with the fact that at level 1, he could identify poisonousness. He looked at the screen and saw his status there, as well as information that he had 9 available skills. The protagonist suddenly felt hungry. He was so hungry that he even started crying. At level 1, Crest could only light a fire with his skill, which he immediately did. He cut up the carcass of the monster he had killed, got the meat and roasted it over the fire. When the meat was ready, he ate it with great pleasure. after which he stretched out on the skin of the cut-up creature and thought with satisfaction that he would somehow survive the cold. He felt sleepy, but before he fell asleep, he thought about how much he had to do tomorrow. He thinks that the points from Gacha are needed for hunting monsters. He would like to improve the base and skill of the doctor if there was such a chance. And with this thought, he fell asleep. He had a dream, as if Ellis, mocking him, told him that if it were not for her, no one would have taken such scum like him. He must obey all her orders. If he understood, then let him answer her. The protagonist jumped in horror, but exhaled when he realized that it was just a dream. MC thought sadly, why does he see such dreams when he finally escaped from all this? He fell asleep again with the thought of the school uniform of the aristocrats. By the way, it seems that since then, Ellis's true nature was revealed. She remembered her first meeting with the protagonist. The girl was spinning around in front of him and telling him that she was beautiful. One person told her that she was like a reincarnated angel, but she didn't like it, because she was 100 times more beautiful than some angel. MC then told her that a girl like her had better not get involved with him, because he was a child of the devil. Ellis thought Crest was the first person who hadn't paid any attention to her. She told him that she didn't care, and he would definitely go crazy about her. From the next day, she started going to him. The girl announced that today, they would go horseback riding. He told her that there was no horse, to which she laughed in his face, pushed him so that he fell to his knees. He really fell, and the girl lashed him with a whip and drove him forward like a horse, making him neigh in addition. She understood that MC accepted her and her true essence, and the girl unknowingly became attached to him. Everyone at school laughed at him, saying that Mrs. Ellis was so noble that she specially visited this mediocrity, meaning the protagonist. She was angry that they all didn't even notice his charm and they were making fools of themselves. They were the ones who were untalented. The girl thought of a way to put these scoundrels in their place, and she came up with it. She persuaded her father to organize a meeting at school, and he announced to everyone that his daughter Ellis had an important announcement to make. Everyone present fell silent, and the girl loudly announced to everyone that she, Ellis Lyford, was getting engaged to Crest Backrust. Everyone was shocked by what they heard. No one expected such a decision from her. And after that, she and the protagonist began attending a school for aristocrats. Because of different houses, they couldn't see each other often, but rumors about MC's skills reached her house and she was very proud of him. One day, the girl overheard her classmates talking. They were discussing Crest. Like, this guy is so cute, but it seems like he's already dating someone, but who? Ellis happily answered them that she and the protagonist were already engaged. She shouldn't have told them about it then. People started paying more attention to MC. The girls were preparing gifts for him. All this made her angry. She thought irritably that, it seems, for them the love story of a beautiful lady and a handsome man is the best entertainment. And Crest, who behaved like a duke, they all liked very much. She told him that he had become very popular, but he should not forget about one thing. She is his bride. He reassured her that this was true, and he did not forget about her for a minute. At first, she was just a little jealous, but with each passing day, she became more and more incomprehensible. The girl forbade him to talk to the opposite gender, except her. She told him offensive words, that she specially appointed him as her fiancé. He is worthless without her. The flame of her jealousy burned fiercely, and this drove the protagonist into a corner. In addition, she ruined his reputation at school, causing him to lose confidence in himself and become withdrawn from everyone. Ellis thought that her goal was to keep him away from others, but in reality, she devalued him and was obsessed with how pathetic he looked. When the maid told her that Crest had obtained the unusual skill Gacha, and she expressed her confession that he was indeed a worthy groom for her, Ellis told her that she should already prepare a speech for her performance. But in her mind, the girl thought that if this continued, she and the protagonist would be separated. She was very worried about it. On the day of the ritual, when she came to his skill acquisition ceremony and heard about his expulsion, she realized in horror that he had cornered himself. Ellis knew that after the shame that had stained the Backhurst family for centuries to come, her engagement with MC would certainly be broken off. And when she extended her helping hand to the protagonist, who had been driven to complete despair, his life would become hers. That was supposed to happen, but Ellis was wrong. She lamented that if he had been a little more obedient, it would not have happened, that they would never meet again. The girl herself did not realize how bitterly she cried. Then her maid knocked on the door and told her that the head of the family asked her to convey something. She asked her what her father wanted to convey to her. It turned out that she was asked to prepare for an audience with King Rakind. The girl was puzzled. What could this mean? At this time, the protagonist was enjoying the Momon fruit tree. He tried the fruit from this tree and enjoyed the sweet and juicy taste of the fruit. He examined the tree and noticed that it was twice as big as usual, and it had started bearing fruit in just 5 days. 5 days ago, MC had made 25 fish arrows. He looked at the screen and was pleased to see that he now had 11 gacha skills. He had copper skills, 2 strength enhancement level 1, dexterity enhancement level 1, silver skills, fencing level 1, fishing level 1 new, cultivation level 1 new, gold skills, 2 earth magic level 1, water magic level 1 new, and rainbow skills, appraisal level 1, cultivation level 1 new. He was happy that he now had 2 rainbow skills, and in general, he had many new skills. Appraisal went down, but the level is still rising. Rainbow skill cultivation allows you to shorten the time and enhance some quality of the object being grown. When he decided to try the skill cultivation, the following appeared on the screen. If he wants to grow a fruitful momona tree, the approximate waiting time is 5 days. The protagonist was excited. How is it, a fruitful tree in 5 days? Rainbow skills are even better than he expected. In these 5 days, he focused on learning the skills, and finally, in the gacha, he defeated the skeleton and the fairy. He spun the gacha, calling the skills to come to him, and everything worked out. The protagonist now had new skills: endurance enhancement level 1, aptitude enhancement level 1, melee level 1, cooking level 1, blacksmithing level 1, wind magic level 1, healing level 1. Crest even jumped up with delight, and now he has received the long-awaited skill. With the help of healing, he can now make a potion, because this skill allows you to make a potion from medicinal herbs and ingredients. So he needs ingredients. He spent 5 days looking for medicinal herbs, but there are not enough of them here. Although this dispelled his worries about injuries and illnesses, he decided to look for a place with a lot of medicinal herbs after lunch. At that moment, a fanged bull appeared. The protagonist assessed it and attacked it with a copper sword. But to his surprise, the sword broke, which caused MC's indignation. After all, there was still very little left, and the creature would have been defeated, but now this bronze sword with a durability of 0 was impossible to use. So, initially it had low durability, and now it had reached the limit. The protagonist began to run away from the fanged bull, because against such a monster, he dropped to 0 at once. He ran and thought that he could not use magic yet, and fishing and cultivation were useless in this situation. So hand-to-hand combat remains. The protagonist abruptly stopped, took a stance, and entered into a direct attack with the bull. He assessed the bull and realized that he was not far from the first level of strength. The protagonist did not expect that such a strong opponent would come to him. MC saw the number 200 on the interface above the defeated bull and was surprised by this. Usually he received no more than 100, from which Crest concluded that the stronger the opponent, the more points he drops. Martial arts, even those at the first level, have amazing power. But a few seconds after using this skill, something happened to his hands. He saw with horror that his hand was wounded and bleeding. He decided to activate the skill healing. He took the herb Chio, put it in the water purified by magic, and applied this decoction to his hand. The result of using this skill greatly shocked MC, because his hand healed as if there were no wounds on it. His hand almost did not hurt, and the rainbow skills were incredible. However, he felt that both martial arts and pharmaceutics were not high enough to use. The protagonist thought that he should take care of the sword more often, so he decided to use the skill blacksmith. He put the handle of the broken sword on the board, as well as the fang of a cow. Finally, the Juga cow fang sword was ready. It had an attack power of 70, a stamina value of 200. It was completed in the shortest time with maximum durability. The protagonist understood that although the sword was good, in any battle, one weapon is not enough. He decided to find allies. In order to rotate the gacha, he must continue to defeat new monsters. If such a strong opponent appeared in the future, it would be too risky to fight him alone. Crest recalled a class at the academy where they were taught that if a person had friends, they could take turns keeping watch while one of them went to bed, and also that tactics were born in battle. MC thought that when he lived in the upper world, people were mercilessly kidnapped there. If there were several of them in one place, they would unite and use a spell. The protagonist decided that he should try to find some traces. Humanity is incredibly sinful, a wild race. It is difficult to make friends, generations change, everything changes. He hoped that at least someone could help him. At that moment, a knight in armor appeared in front of him. MC could not believe his eyes. Was this a man in armor? Maybe this was a chance for him, but how to do it? Under the armor was Minu Micilian, his acquaintance. She greeted him and added that she didn't believe it when he was ridiculed in the upper world. The girl asked him, "It wasn't like they said, right?" She understood his surprise and continued that no matter what land he was on, they were the same friends as before. She never doubted him, that he was her only friend. MC was finally able to speak. He didn't expect to see a girl here. She thought that meeting him was more interesting than doing imitation sword fighting in the night department, but with him, it was a tough fight every time. Crest realized that she had been secretly training with Ellis, just the two of them. In fact, the sword technique he had learned was quite effective when applied to her. He would be interested in seeing them fight. Minu remembered how it all started for them. The girl had met Ellis in Resifel Castle. She had yelled at her, asking what they were doing here and why she had called her here. Minu had told her that the king had called her. Ellis had glared at the girl with hatred. She was an illegitimate child of one of the three families with the title of Archduke in the Kingdom of Rakind, the Micilian family. On the day of the evaluation ritual, she acquired an extremely rare skill, studying with Crest in the same course of knightly sciences. She will always find a common topic of conversation with him and discuss it enthusiastically. She spends more time with the protagonist at the academy than she does, and her breasts are bigger. The girl that Ellis hates more than anyone else. The older brothers of the Backhurst family were also here. They saw the girls and began to make fun of them, saying that Mrs. Ellis was invited, and cutie Mina was here too. One brother began to shower Ellis with compliments, that she was, as always, very charming today, and asked her if such an incomparable he was suitable for the role of her fiancé, especially since that talentless Crest had disappeared. He continued that an audience with the king was mortally boring, and suggested that she run away from here somewhere to have fun. The second brother flirted with Mina, saying that she had recently met a monster in the city, and killed him right away. This is a noble achievement, but is it worth it at all, to protect commoners? The girls got angry at the brothers. Ellis sharply answered the protagonist's brother that someone like him would not suit her at all. She asked him not to continue to utter delusional maxims that he was supposedly more magnificent than Crest. Minu also did not remain silent and answered the second MC brother that her power is intended to protect the entire city, whether it is a commoner or an aristocrat. It does not matter to her. If they are going to be a danger to people, she will not even think for a second. The brothers with sour faces were left with nothing. At that moment, the owner of the Resifel Castle, the king of the country Rakind Resifel 7, entered the hall. He asked the gentlemen representatives of the three families of the archdukes for forgiveness for unexpectedly calling them. Crest's father obsequiously answered him, saying, "What is he talking about? The representatives of the Backhurst clan will always rush to His Majesty instantly at the first call." Minu's father also showed himself, saying, regarding that monster that suddenly appeared the other day, the representatives of the Micilian clan, dealt with it. Perhaps His Majesty will have some comments for them? The king answered him that they did everything perfectly. He continued that he wanted to tell them in detail about the letter he received from the Pope. The leader of the knightly squad came out to the king with the letter, and everyone whispered that she, as always, was delightful. The letter said about the recent appearance of a mysterious monster, instilling fear in the castle town. The Pope was initiated into the content of the divine dream, and he will outline it below. Instead of divine speeches, it is worth talking about more mundane things. Lately, there have been more and more days when a huge number of monsters run in. However, there is no need to worry. The gods have already figured out how to counter the attacks of monsters. They will grant people special skills for this purpose. Below will be listed 3 people who will have these skills. First person on the list was the owner of the skill, Intercession of the Providence of the Holy Virgin, Ellis Riefeld. The girl quietly thanked her father, who praised her. She thought that indeed, her skill was too powerful in its impact for the peaceful upper world. And then suddenly it turns out that this is an extremely rare skill used against monsters. Today, from this very day, the heroic tale of her will begin. She was happy with this thought. Next on the list was the second person. It turned out to be the owner of the skill Brave Strike, Minu Micilian. Ellis gritted her teeth in anger and thought, this girl is in her way again. Oh well, she has a skill from the rear support category, and if all the nasty dirty monsters are entrusted to this girl, then she will be completely satisfied with it. When someone works in close proximity to commoners and soldiers, a sharp increase in sympathy for him is inevitable. If Minu's life ends on the battlefield, where she is brutally killed, then so be it. The leader of the Knight Squad continued to read out the list. The third person she named was the owner of the Gacha skill Crest Backhurst. Everyone was stunned by who the third person turned out to be, especially the protagonist's father, because he banished him. The king said that these 3 skills have often been a topic of discussion before. Are they special skills against monsters and the like, considering that they were endowed with representatives of all ducal families? Also, according to the Pope's assumption, it seems that there will be more people with skills that can be used against monsters in the future, so there is nothing to be afraid of when creatures attack, They will ensure the safety of their country. The king was smiling, and Ellis thought that judging by his smile, he didn't yet know where Crest was. So she and Minu would have to deal with monsters alone? She looked at the protagonist's father, who was sweating from fear, and thought, what a mess the Backhurst family had made. The king asked what they were talking about, this family. Oh yeah, they were talking about their fifth son, named Crest. His Majesty turned to MC's father. Where is he and what's wrong with him? The head of the family twitched in fear, but he needed to answer the king, so he lied to him, saying that the protagonist had some minor health problems. At this point, Duke Refold said that Crest Backhurst would not be able to appear here under any circumstances. The king asked him what he meant. The Duke told him that it was better to hear about it firsthand, from the head of the family. The protagonist's father, shaking with fear, was forced to tell the truth, that his son had committed a misdeed and was banished by him to the lower world. The king indignantly asked him, what did he say? MC, so to speak, deserved the special favor of the gods, but what did he, the head of the family, do? The head turned even paler and stuttered that the protagonist had committed a very serious misdeed. Resifal VII was angry. What kind of misdeed could it be for a 15-year-old child to be banished to the lower world for it? At this point, Minu stepped forward and said that Crest had not committed any crimes. She told the king that during the evaluation ritual, Duke Backhurst decided that the protagonist was lying to everyone because he could not demonstrate his skill, and so he banished MC to the lower world. The king was upset by the Duke's actions. The protagonist's father angrily told the girl that not only had she butted into someone else's conversation, but she also had the audacity to tell everyone here lies. Duke Refold was indignant, turning to the Duke, saying that almost all the people present here were at the scene of the events, and besides, the letter he had recently read here did not confirm that everything the protagonist had said was true. In fact, the reason for everything was that he did not believe his own son. Then Duke Refold turned to the king. He told him that before the country found itself in a critical situation, he wanted to dare and express his assumptions about how difficult it was. They, the Refold family, would go in search of the protagonist. They would find him to relieve his majesty of his worries. The king muttered that this sounded encouraging. Duke Refold asked him if his majesty could appoint him as the head of the Backhurst family when they found the protagonist. MC's father angrily asked the Duke if he was kidding him. He wanted to pass the right of succession to his fifth son. The Duke answered him with dignity that this was why he had decided to consult with the king. Besides, it had to be done, otherwise it would be difficult to get MC back. Resifal asked him what he meant by that. He told his majesty that the protagonist had been unfairly called a liar, treated like a criminal, and exiled to the underworld. The family had treated him very cruelly. If they made a mistake here too, there was a chance that MC would want to take revenge on the country. Therefore, by passing the title on to him, raising his position relative to the other representatives of the Backhurst family, who had come up with an unfair punishment for him, they would give the protagonist the opportunity to personally bury the hatchet. MC's father began to beg the king not to do such a thing. He begged for his forgiveness, but the king was adamant. He told him that the purpose of their lives is to protect the country. Since he was offered to return the protagonist on the condition that he transfer the title to him, he, the king of Resifal VII, intends to fulfill this condition. Ellis understood her father's motivation. Using her relationship with MC as an excuse, her father was going to take over the power of two ducal families. If he succeeded, he would become more influential than the king himself. Perhaps in the near future, the Refold family would even want to get the royal throne. She smiled at her thoughts. After all, this would be a story about her and MC building their beautiful relationship. She immediately cut off her thoughts. No matter what her father was planning, the main thing was that thanks to this, she would probably see the protagonist again. She decided that if she met him, she would apologize to him for everything that happened. Meanwhile, in the lower world, Crest was contemplating a new skill, magic imbuing. He picked up a sword and thought, perhaps this technique is for imbuing weapons and defenses with additional properties. MC decided to try this skill out right away. He held a bull-tusk sword, potentially imbued with the ability of only one type. The hidden power of the bull's fang increases strength. The item used is the bull's fang magic stone, slashing mastery. Consuming magic power, gives out a slashing blow. The item used is the monster's magic stone. The protagonist was interested in both abilities, but he had to choose only one. He decided to take slashing mastery. Apparently, it was something cool. On the screen, he chose to agree and suddenly smelled something. The sea stretched out in front of him, and MC inhaled its smell and listened to the splash of the waves. He thought that the sea here was exactly the same as in the upper world. The distance was covered in fog. The world is covered in fog is the generally accepted opinion of mankind, and no one knows what is on the other side of the fog. How many times have people organized research, and all failed? The ships did not return. Gradually, everyone stopped even thinking about getting to the other side of the fog. He saw a structure on the side that looked like a pier. MC approached it and noted that there were no boats here. Had the people who fished here to make a living moved to other places? Or had something happened to them and they were unable to return? He decided not to think about what the reason was and decided to use the fishing skill. The protagonist was tired of meat and fruit. He wanted to try seafood. Before he could cast his line, he immediately got a bite. And apparently something huge. Suddenly, a huge Sahagan monster jumped out of the water with a spear in his hands. He let out a terrible roar and rushed to attack MC. Crest was confused and bounced off him to the end of the pier, thereby cutting off his path to a possible retreat. He understood that he would not be able to get closer to the monster on such a narrow bridge, and he remembered his sword. The protagonist thought it was high time to try it out. He imbued his weapon with magic, used the slashing skill, and finished the monster off in one fell swoop. The interface above the monster's fallen body showed the number 200, and Crest thought that when his level increased, he would probably be able to kill the enemy with one blow. And with the second level of the fishing skill, he still hoped to catch something decent. But at that moment, he saw a lot of Sahagins swimming towards him. He sighed resignedly because he hoped to get some seafood. The evaluation skill showed that the monsters did not contain poison, their edibility was satisfactory, and they were easy to cook. He accepted a fight with a bunch of these creatures, from which, of course, he emerged victorious. MC thought that even though it said here that they were edible, he did not eat their meat. Later he fished a little more, but he never caught a fish, he only accumulated points. At this time, the king was meeting with representatives of the duchy in the throne room. A plush toy bear was sitting on the throne, a letter was hanging around its neck, addressed to the acting representative of the Bockhurst house. The king entrusted the search for the protagonist to Duke Refold. He assured him that His Majesty could rely on him. Minu's father also wanted to help in the search, which the king was certainly very happy about. He continued that they would involve their brave Mina in the search. The people present in the hall whispered excitedly, and the monarch asked him, well, who would then protect this country? The girl's skill Brave Strike is an invincible power. If a large number of monsters invaded them with an attack in their absence, what would they do? Minu's father reasonably answered him that Crest in the lower world had been in a much more dangerous position than they had been all this time. He added that in such a situation there was no time to lose. Wasn't it obvious what had to be a priority? The king agreed with his words, that there was some truth in this. He asked the girl if she agreed to go on the search. Minu answered him that she agreed, and asked him to entrust this matter to her. The monarch told her that he was relying on her. Then he notified them that since everything was decided, everyone was free to go. Suddenly, someone's voice asked them if maybe they would allow her to join the search. Ellis stepped forward. She told the king that she had also received a skill. Her body had acquired incredible power, and besides, she was engaged to the protagonist. Would the ruler allow her to participate in the search as well? The king agreed that this was unarguable, but it was not the best idea. Minu took the initiative and told the ruler that the protagonist always told her that Ellis had morally cornered him with her impudent and rude behavior. If MC unexpectedly ran into her, he would probably run away from her in fear, and in that case, it would be even more difficult to get him back. Moreover, in the worst-case scenario, he could take his own life. Ellis was furious the whole time the girl was talking. She interrupted her saying, "What is she saying? Let her shut up or watch what she says." But the king cooled her ardor. He asked her if what Minu said was true. Ellis was confused and stuttered that she sometimes showed rudeness in communicating with MC. That was a fact. But there was a reason for that. Although she was engaged to him, this girl was constantly making eyes at him. Minu heard this and denied her words. She always communicated with the protagonist only as a friend. If she thought that, she should have just discussed it with her personally. Instead, she constantly attacked Crest. She took out her anger on him. She thought to herself that the protagonist allegedly told her such a thing about Ellis in a private conversation. She was lying, but it had to be said. She continued that she paid enough attention to her, right? But she did not even listen to her, so she had to talk to the protagonist. The girls clashed with each other in an argument. They argued until the king shouted at them to stop their quarrel. He no longer cared who of them did it, just let them return MC as soon as possible. Minu asked Ellis how she was going to return the protagonist. The girl answered her that she would persuade him. Her father had already prepared an excellent gift for him. The daughter of the head of Micilian asked her if she meant that he would be granted a title upon his return. The girl answered her positively and thought to herself that her father had thought of everything very well, because it was she who had persuaded him to ask for a title. Minu tried to bring up her last arguments. She told the girl that she knew nothing about MC, all he had ever wanted was freedom. Ellis answered her that she was too annoying, he would become a duke and would manage the house and money as he wished. Minu said that he would not be happy with such a thing. However, no matter what she said to her further, apparently, there would be no sense in it. She said goodbye to her. She did not pay attention to her stupid questions like what she said and the like, she simply turned around and left. Ellis did not understand what Minu was trying to tell her, and thought, what is freedom? What does it represent? Meanwhile, in the lower world, the protagonist analyzed his skills. He calculated that today was April 30th, and April was the deadline, which meant that today was the last day to master the gacha skill. He spun the gacha wheel 11 times a day, and he had obtained more than one rainbow skill. Rainbow skills had a maximum level of 3, and he also had to get 4 of the same skill. Since he had come all this way, he wanted to get growing and cultivation. When he succeeded, he happily exclaimed that he now had all the rainbow skills at maximum level. MC could finally part with the cave he had been living in, because yesterday, when he spun the gacha, he had finally obtained the silver skill construction level 1. Now he could calmly fulfill his cherished wish, he would build his own house. The protagonist had even chosen the place where he would build it. It was a small hill with a beautiful view. There is a river nearby where he can catch fish, as well as convenient access to areas where his research has not yet progressed. MC got down to business. He activated the construction skill. Crest understood that he was level 1, so the design and size of the home would be modest. He thought that he was going to live there alone anyway, so it didn't matter to him. The materials used in construction were delivered in advance. He only had to choose one of them. Similarly, the desired layout of the rooms was chosen in advance. He was delighted with this. He finally decided on what kind of house he would have, activated the skill, and as if by magic, his home was built in front of him. The protagonist was amazed at how quickly everything worked out. He touched the strong walls and hoped that they would protect him from attacks by simpler monsters. Entering the house, he was amazed that it was also made conscientiously inside. The curtains were made of monster fur, medium strength and with low sound insulation. The window glass was made of coastal sand, with low durability and average sound insulation. But what struck him most was the kitchen stove. He always wanted one. The protagonist thought that if he used the cooking skill, the food in such a stove would be cooked instantly, but it would probably taste worse than food cooked by hand. Since he had nothing else to do here except research and earn points, he became interested in cooking. By the way, outside the lower world, he had never even tried to cook. Crest wanted to try the softness of the bed. He was discouraged when he felt how soft it was. He now had a bed of 6-fanged sheep. Wasn't it warmer than the one he had in his parents' house? He buried himself deeper in it and remembered how it all began for him. The calendar informed him that this day was April 4th. This was the day it all began for him. He jumped up, and before the next month came, he decided to check his stats. Strength 130, Endurance 123, Agility 102, Intelligence 124. By this time he had scored 50,000 points. He had used 40,000 of them. He had made 88 gacha rotations. There were still 10,000 points left, but he didn't see anything terrible in that. And he, who had been expelled because of the loser gacha skill, had 30 skills at present. These were second-level blacksmithing, cooking, hand-to-hand combat, light magic, first-level cattle and poultry breeding, cutting and sewing. In order not to make a mistake, he decided to look at the skills he had on the screen. He was euphoric as he looked at the maximum third level of expert assessment, cultivation and witchcraft in his rainbow skill. In his gold skill he had the third level of earth magic, fire magic, water magic, wind magic, and magic imbuing. In his silver skill, he had the first level of mining, working with maps, gathering, perception, construction. The second level of dagger mastery, fishing, clearing land for arable land, spear mastery. The third level of sword mastery. And finally, in his copper skill, he had the third level of endurance increase, agility increase, intelligence increase, magic ability increase, and the fourth level of strength increase. He thought he had lost touch with reality. This is how he built a beautiful house. He could no longer imagine his life without skills. If you think about it, when there is no emotional connection with anyone, the living sense of the world disappears. The protagonist was surprised that expert assessment and healing were in the same category. He thought, what if there are skills for taming and raising monsters? Tomorrow is the beginning of May 5th. What if the new gacha will have such options? Although he doubted it, could the circumstances be so favorable? And who knows, maybe the next gacha will also have restrictions. In the worst case, unused points will disappear. Dozing, he thought that he still had to spend all the points. Perhaps he would receive a notification about this in May. And yet he enjoyed his bed. It was really too warm. It seemed to be created to turn a person into a useless, lazy creature. And with these thoughts, MC fell asleep sweetly and soundly. Meanwhile, in the residence of the Duke of Backhurst, there was unrest. The brothers were indignant, the eldest brother shouting that Crest had disgraced them twice. At the assessment ceremony, and at the recent audience with the king, the middle brother tried to calm him down, saying, "What is he saying? After all, he curses the next head of the family with all his might." The eldest exclaimed that this did not scare him at all. He did not tease him. Why would the protagonist take revenge on him? Their father slammed his fist on the table and yelled at them that they needed to decide first who would go looking for MC. After the brothers whispered, Albrecht volunteered to go looking. He told their father that he had a secret plan. They would see. He would definitely bring MC back. He showed them an object called a slave collar. The person on whose neck it would hang would unquestioningly follow all orders. His brother was outraged, saying that this was a weapon against criminals, and if the protagonist found out that he used it, nothing good would come of it. Albrecht flared up, saying that he would tell him what to do. He laughed evilly and suggested that he burn it. His decision was to approach the tunnel that led to the gate. This gate connects the upper world with the lower. The brothers saw him off and gave him parting words to be careful, because the nether world is so overflowing with magical power that it not only blocks the demons' ability to move, but also strengthens their bodies during their transformation. He asked them to shut up and told them that he had brought 20 knights from the Backhurst family with him. He doesn't know if it's a goblin or a wolf. Either way, he's a kid, nothing more. Albrecht thought that there were so many of them that it would be almost impossible not to find the protagonist. The eldest son and his brothers are incompetent. They have a great opportunity, but none of them want to take advantage of it. He was going to use the MC in the slave collar to gain power in Backhurst. Albrecht commanded his knights to move forward, and they rushed after their leader. At that moment, the protagonist woke up. He saw on the calendar that it was May 5th, which meant he needed to see what was going on in Gacha. And there was a May celebration. The Gacha summoning was confirmed. The April Gacha was finished, and he had 10,000 points. MC thought that if he scrolled it 11 times, he could get a rainbow skill. When he saw that he had so many points, he decided to scroll it 22 times. His actions brought him a good result. The protagonist received a silver skill, Demon Evolution Technique, which contributed to the evolution of his demons, and also a rainbow skill, Summoner, with the function of summoning his monsters to a location of his choice. Crest thought, so these acquired skills are useless if he can't control demons? The interface corrected him, saying that this skill cannot be used because he does not have demons bound to it. He thought that he should not panic, he just needs to learn how to control monsters. The screen showed him that the May Gacha has just begun, and he is eagerly awaiting news from it. The protagonist chose a set consisting of the Demon Manual, Summoning, and Demon Usage of the first level. He was pleased that he received all the skills from this set, especially since MC remembered that he learned something about how to make demons join a person at the academy. It said that the only way to make a demon join a person is to slowly and lovingly attack it without killing it. And after that, you need to tell it how much the person wants it to join them. Without thinking twice, he summoned a demon to himself and attacked it the way he was taught at the academy. Of course, it happened slowly and painfully, but MC hoped that it would be effective. At one point, the protagonist thought that he killed the monster, but then he saw a heart aura emanating from the defeated creature. Crest thought that he had never seen anything like this before. Maybe this was taming the demon? Goban became his follower. The protagonist managed to tame the creature. He named it Gobu. MC confessed to him that he was afraid that he had killed it. Gobu looked at his master with confusion. He thought that first he needed to teach him to shake hands like when he met. But while he was trying to teach the demon, Gobu beat his entire hand until he turned blue. The protagonist explained to his new friend for the 100th time that if someone extends his hand, he should just shake it. And that's it. In desperation, Crest thought that the demon was stupid, and he decided to use the skill, Evaluation, to help him understand what was going on. He saw the analysis that Gobu's intelligence was really weak. It showed only 1. The protagonist was upset that he really was stupid. He tried in vain to tame him. At this moment, he remembered his 2 brothers saying that useless people are not needed in this world. Let him not forget that they can delete him at any time. He thought that this goblin was also useless. MC was determined that he would still train the demon. He saw Gobu's frightened eyes, patted him on the head, and peacefully told him that they would continue to study. The creature happily jumped from the affection, repeating one word, Gobu. Crest noticed that he was repeating the same thing. He added that, nevertheless, his new friend was not useless. He would make an excellent warrior out of him. He decided to try to perform the skill Earth Summoning on him. The demon was trotting so much that the protagonist laughed and said that with such speed, it could be used for surprise attacks. Gobu behaved in such a way that MC thought his friend liked it. Suddenly, he thought he heard a sound. At that time, Albrecht and his squad were fighting goblins. He was angry that all his warriors could not cope with them. Picking up one warrior from the ground, Albrecht yelled at him, saying that he told them to always use this skill. The soldier began to justify himself to the Lord, saying that due to the high concentration of magical energy, it was difficult to detect not only the protagonist, but also demons, and when he was used for no reason, they wasted their energy. He hit the soldier and thought angrily that he did not expect such a turn of events, such a situation. His knights fought worse than usual today. He asked them how many of their men were seriously injured. They answered that in this battle they all received very serious injuries, so they would need to go back. Albrecht ordered those who could not move to stay where they were, and the rest he gave the order to move on. If any of them remained alive by the time he returned, he would take them with him. His pride and ambition could not allow him to return empty-handed. They had just lost to the goblins, and if he did not return MC, his position would be in jeopardy. One of the knights told him that he did not want to follow him anymore, and he was immediately grabbed by the throat by the knights and destroyed. Albrecht turned to his warriors, saying that if they did not listen to their leader, then the same thing would happen to them as the rebellious warrior. At that moment, one of the knights called out to him. He informed him that they had found something similar to human tracks. Their leader examined what looked like tracks. One of the knights asked him if these were the protagonist's tracks. He answered him that he did not know what MC's tracks looked like, but the size was about the same. They decided to follow those tracks. At this very time, Crest continued training with Gobu. Suddenly, they heard someone bark, and they saw a wolf in front of them. The protagonist exclaimed that it meant the wolf had joined them too. It would be their new companion. MC simultaneously noted that the wolf had an intelligence of 20, which meant that it was smart. The demon began to attract the attention of its master, and Crest realized that it wanted something from him. He saw that the demon was asking him to give a name to their new wolf companion. The protagonist agreed with him. Now that they were on the same team, it would not be particularly convenient for him if they did not have names. He decided to name the companion as Goblia. Immediately after that, something started happening to her, and MC realized with great surprise that the goblin had evolved into a girl. So this creature was originally a female, and he called her by a male name. The wolf barked at him. He needed to give her a name, and he decided that he would name her as Rufuna. The wolf liked the name he gave her, and began to cuddle up to MC. He patted her on the withers and noted how cool the wolf was. He ordered them to resume their activities, and Rufuna and Goblin looked at him devotedly. The protagonist noted that the girl's status also jumped, which could not but please him. He told them that from this day on they would live in this world together, and they were his irreplaceable companions. His new friends warmly thanked him. It was already dark outside, so he told them that it was time for them to return home. Suddenly, Rufuna and Goblia became alarmed and took a fighting stance. Crest did not understand what had happened to them. Then he realized that someone was approaching them. He remembered the scream he thought he heard when Gobu appeared, and now MC realized that this sound was a human scream. The protagonist saw his father's second son, Albert, standing in front of him, who with a not-so-kind smile told him that he had finally found him, his brother Crest. MC remembered one episode when his brother killed his beloved dog. The protagonist attacked his brother in the hopes of avenging his friend, but his brother grabbed him by the clothes and told him that he was the one who killed the dog, because he could not protect his pet. He had treated him evilly then. He told him that MC apparently did not know his place. He was the killer. That's why he could not get anything. The brother added that Crest was the only one he would ever forgive, and now he would live under his oppression for the rest of his life. The protagonist knew that out of all his brothers, Albert was the cruelest tyrant, and now he was here. What did he want here? He asked him about it, and Albert answered him that he had been looking for him for so long that he had almost thought that Crest had died. But he was alive, and his brother was incredibly happy about it. MC repeated his question, why did he come here? His brother again did not give him a direct answer. He exclaimed, isn't the protagonist happy to see his brother? He should be happy that he saw a kindred spirit in this world. Then he confessed to MC that he came here to take him. Albert apologized to him, that they had chased him away, saying that it was just a joke. What a joke, the protagonist thought. He almost died from such humor. His brother continued to say that he was happy that he was alive. He asked him not to be such a cynic, and at that time he thought that he understood MC's state. Now he is clearly not angry, but scared. He and his brothers instilled fear and despair in him since birth. They made sure that he would never be able to resist them. Even though the protagonist had a very rare skill, it didn't matter. If he obeyed him, everything would be fine. Crest's friends had been keeping a wary eye on the newcomers the entire time. Albert turned to his knights. If any of them were afraid of this wolf demon, he would personally kill them. He turned to MC again, saying, "Did he have animals again? Why would he need them if they would soon die again?" The protagonist understood what his brother was getting at. He protested back, but Albert exclaimed that he was the one who killed that dog because he was too weak to protect him. He was irresponsible, so he couldn't take care of the demon. It was time for him to go home. MC voiced his protest. He wouldn't go home. He decided that he would live here, and his brother should leave. Albert was amazed at his brother's courage. Then he got angry and told him that he didn't understand what the hell he was talking about. And in general, he should be more respectful to his older brother. At that moment, the protagonist felt as if something clicked inside him, and he felt like his brain was about to explode. He did not understand what was happening to him. He was shaking all over. His friends were wary, and the wolf bristled and growled. Albert ordered MC to shut this demon up. He had already gotten him. Otherwise, he would shut him up himself by cutting his throat. The protagonist tried to say something, but he was shaking so much that he could not utter a word. His brother smiled triumphantly and thought that he had succeeded. This was his secret. He watched his brother and saw that his brain was so tense that he could no longer think consistently. The protagonist's friends did not understand what was happening to their friend. The wolf growled and Goblia took a fighting stance. The knights were also uneasy about what was happening. They were scared, but they understood that if they were not brave, Albert would immediately finish them off. Goblia and Rufuna were about to attack MC's vile brother, but he suddenly shouted at them to stop. He told them that if they did not listen to his brother, he would beat him up. Everyone was perplexed, and only the protagonist's older brother laughed contentedly and told him that if he listened to him, then everything would be fine, because he was incompetent and unworthy of life. If he became disobedient even once more, he would beat him up again. Albert understood that now he was withdrawn and became simply perfect. He did not even have to use the slave collar, because from the very beginning he had a collar on that could not be removed. He ordered his knights to take him away. They put his hands in shackles. Goblia wanted to come to him, but one of the knights pushed her away. He shouted at her not to come so close to him. The protagonist saw all this and only quietly asked for forgiveness from his friends. He bitterly regretted that everything turned out this way. Just recently, he told his allies that from now on they were friends. He thought that he would become a great warrior, but it turns out that he is still useless. Goblia suddenly began to shout her favorite word, "Go-boo," spun around and ran. MC bitterly thought how easily she got rid of him, and their friendship did not last long. Will his last memories of his friends be like this? Will he be able to see them again? And in general, will he be able to get new rare skills? Is this his destiny? He felt someone pull his clothes from behind. The protagonist happily thought that it was Goblia returning, but it was Rufuna. He told the wolf to leave him alone. If he continued to act like this, he would get beaten up too. MC advised him to run away from here to another place. When he hesitated, his brother beat him up. At that moment, Albert told him to kill that dog. If he killed it, he would admit that he was not completely incompetent. He advised him to hurry up, otherwise he would kill it for him, and he would also remain useless. Suddenly, they heard a strange sound. The older brother assumed that it could be goblins. He asked Crest, was it he who called them here? Let him drive them away from here immediately, and he hit the protagonist. MC fell. It hurt. He knew that his brother would hit him anyway. At that moment, he suddenly realized that he could not hear his voice. He felt that his mind had cleared up and that Rufin's warmth was not far from him. He also clearly heard Goblia's voice. He had heard her tone like that before. The protagonist saw her move the same way she did when she was engrossed in something. Did she like something? He sat down on the ground and called Goblia with all his might. His head was in a jumble again. Fear, Rufuna, friends, beating, disappointment, etc. But he managed to gather his thoughts and strength and activated the summon skill. Goblia flew at Albert with lightning speed. She hit him with such force that he flew back and hit a tree. The older brother squealed. What was that? Some kind of monster just appeared out of nowhere. The girl triumphed and shouted her favorite word, and MC guessed that she had planned all this from the beginning. He patted her head and praised her. At that moment, Albert shouted at him. Where was he going? Let him immediately look him in the face. But Crest broke the shackles, much to his brother's surprise, and told him that he would fight. His brother furiously told him that he was not worthy of being a member of the family. He was nobody. MC threw off his shackles and told him that he had never been and would never be his brother. Albert was amazed to see MC make a sword out of the handcuffs. He did not even realize that the protagonist had activated one of his many skills. Crest pointed the sword at his brother. He declared him his enemy. The protagonist's allies happily accepted the fact that their master had become himself again. They watched as he pointed the sword at his brother and assumed a fighting stance. But Albert grabbed the blade of the sword and told his brother that this time he would finally imprint the consequences of disobedience in his mind. He ordered his knights to kill this monster right now. But the knights seemed frozen in place, unable to carry out his order. He yelled at them. What are they worth? They are still knights? They must follow his orders, even if it requires them to kill someone. They seemed to wake up and prepare to attack the protagonist and his friends. The wolf bristled in a terrible grin. He stood behind Goblia and they both prepared to repel the enemy attack. Albert shouted at the MC, saying, did he think his older brother would be confused if these two monsters attacked them? The protagonist retorted that his subordinates were confused and worried even from the voice of his friends, and the scream he heard earlier was probably caused by the demon's attack. He added that they were superior to them in terms of strength. His brother, with anger in his voice, advised him not to be such a self-confident fool. He was going to attack Crest. He activated the skill of Fire Magic level 5. Albert bragged to him that this is the best magic in the world, and he cannot lose with it. He released fire at his brother, but the protagonist activated his Earth Magic skill. The second son of the Bahurst family was furious. How many of these skills did MC have? He tried to calm down, saying that no matter how many skills, Crest could not defeat his fire magic. In front of him was only a wall of earth. He could easily break it with continuous attacks. He attacked this earth wall, but it was all in vain. It did not collapse. He thought, is MC's Earth Magic level higher than rank S? He heard his brother tell him that he was only level 3. He told him that this was impossible. Is this another advantage of the divine skill, Gacha? The protagonist smirked. So his divine skill is the reason why Albert came here for him? The eldest brother had to admit to him that his Gacha skill was bestowed upon him by God to save the upper world. Recently, demons have been appearing frequently in the upper world. They say it's an omen of things to come. The protagonist's friends listened carefully to Albert's every word. He asked MC to come home with him so they could save the upper world. He was behind the earthen wall the whole time he was saying this, and Crest couldn't see the emotions on his brother's face, and he was contorted by the fact that he was bowing down to this useless creature. He thought it was the most humiliating thing he had ever done, but he had to endure it. All that was left was to wait for the moment to put the slave collar on him. Albert flinched when the protagonist appeared in front of him and asked him to look at him. He raised his head, and MC pierced his shoulder with his sword. The older brother screamed in pain, but Crest calmly told him that he was only here because they had banished him. And now he didn't care what would happen to him. He pressed harder on the sword, and Albert screamed even louder, thinking that MC was seriously trying to destroy him. The protagonist asked him what kind of look he had. Did he seriously think that he would believe him after that? Albert continued that his father was very sorry for his actions. He said that he would give him the duchy. All the power and possessions of their family would be in the hands of MC. Crest replied that he did not need it. He had now pierced his brother's leg as well. He screamed in pain again and asked the protagonist what he was doing. Crest thought he injured his leg so he would never be able to get home, although it would probably be better if he killed him right here. MC felt someone pulling his clothes from behind. He turned around and saw Goblia. She was asking him to stop with her eyes. The protagonist thought that he had indeed taught his brother a lesson enough. So he activated water magic and the Karma Master skill. Water poured from the sky and all of his brother's wounds disappeared as if they had never been there. Crest told Albert that he had lost. He should return to the upper world and report this. He then advised him not to mess with him anymore, because next time he would not spare him. He thought that if he killed his own brother, he would be no different from him. He was no longer Crest Backhurst, but simply Crest. The protagonist smiled at his friends and called them to follow him. They were about to leave. Albert grinned maliciously as if to say that he really thought he had defeated him, but he had one more trump card hidden away. Since the protagonist's back was turned to him, he was going to put the slavery collar on him from his back and force MC to become his slave and let him regret it for the rest of his worthless life. But his plans were not destined to come true because goblins attacked him. They knocked him down to the ground and began to shake him. He did not understand anything. How could this happen? Albert shouted at them to let him go. Why were they undressing him? And don't let them think that they could get away with it so easily. The goblins stripped him. tied his hands, and took rocks and crushed his legs. The protagonist was surprised by all this action. He learned at the academy that goblins during the mating season can attack a representative of another race of the opposite gender. He thought, so they can attack him too? He didn't realize that the goblin's attack on his brother was the work of Goblia. The protagonist sat down on a stump and thought that it was hard to say whether this was a good ending to this story or a bad one. His friends brought him fruits to refresh himself. He tenderly thanked them for their concern for him. MC kept thinking about his brother's words about his gacha skill being a divine skill. He shared his thoughts with his allies, saying that he thought it was the opposite, a hellish skill. The protagonist couldn't even imagine that he could save the upper world. He wondered what would happen to that world if he wasn't there at the time. After all, if the demons attacked them, Ellis would hardly be able to do anything. He felt sorry for Mina that she was dealing with her alone. His friends were worried, but he reassured them that he wouldn't leave them. He added that he was very sorry. They had to go through a difficult test for them. The protagonist remembered how it seemed to him that one of the goblin women gave Goblia some kind of sign. He asked her about it. The girl pretended that she didn't understand what he was talking about. MC stretched sweetly. This day had been very long. He turned to his friends and suggested that they go home. On the way, they heard some kind of sound. The protagonist assumed that it could be a monster. That wouldn't be good. He wanted to get home as soon as possible, and he didn't really want to get into trouble. MC decided to find out who was there with his skills. He activated the all-seeing technique and saw a cow and a man, which made him feel a strange sensation. They saw that some girl was desperately fighting a demon, and the forces were clearly not on her side. The protagonist decided to help her. He asked his allies to help him. When the monster was defeated, MC saw a cloud above it with the number 200. Livia thanked them for their help. Crest saw that she was dizzy and very pale. He asked her if she was okay, but she could barely stand on her feet, and the protagonist activated the expertise. MC saw that the girl was poisoned and she had very little time left to live. He put her on the ground and asked her to be patient for a little while. He would prepare a medicine for her now. The protagonist made an antidote. He gave the drink to Livia. She took a sip and felt much better, confessing to him that it was the first time she tried such a delicious medicine. MC still couldn't understand who she was. When using the skill, he didn't feel any human or demonic energy. The girl took off her hood and asked him, "Does she look like a human?" "Because she is the queen of goblins." The protagonist was shocked by her words, but he knew that sometimes creatures of a non-human race are born with some mutations that give them special abilities. Such individuals are called kings and queens, and their purpose is to continue and protect the family. He once learned about this at the academy. Livia turned to him with a request. She wanted him to help her save her village. He was surprised by her request. She explained to him that at the foot of one mountain, there is a village where she lives. Today they were suddenly attacked by poisonous creatures. They got rid of them, but many villagers were still poisoned. They would all die if they did not help them in time. The protagonist could not refuse her request, but it was too dangerous for them to move through the forest in the dark, and then MC activated the light magic. He asked the Goblin Queen how many villagers were poisoned. She answered that there were about 10 villagers. The protagonist said that he would need to buy ingredients for the antidote along the way. The girl asked him again, would he help her village? MC said that he saw no reason to refuse. He would save them at any cost. He asked his friends, would they mind walking with him again? The allies happily agreed. The Goblin Queen was touched by their kindness and warmly thanked them. The protagonist put forward one condition to her, saying that he would have to ask her for something in return. He would like to make a new base in their village, and also for them to keep the base clean in his absence. The girl happily agreed to his proposal. She said that he should not worry. Everyone in the village would be happy to see them. The protagonist introduced himself, his friends, and Livia told them her name in response. She added that she was not very strong, but she would be happy to work with them. That's how they got acquainted and went to the village to help. At this time, Ellis and Minu were in the sauna. Minu asked the girl if she heard that the other day Albert Bockhurst, the brother of her ex-fiancé, went to the lower world. Ellis answered her that she was not interested in anyone except the protagonist himself. She added that the word ex was superfluous here. The girl thought that the Micilian family also planned to send their troops to the lower world, but since the number of demons increased sharply, protecting the upper world became a priority. And for this reason, she and Minu ended up here together, although she really wanted this to end as soon as possible. She asked the girl out loud, "This Albert, did he come back or not?" Minu answered her that he had not come back. It seemed they had lost sight of him, although they had already found the trail of Crest. Ellis asked her about the report she had just received. It somehow concerned the Bakhurst family, right? So her lover was alive, she was so happy about it. She looked at Minu and asked her why she was so tense. They could take their time. The chosen ones from the refilled army would definitely bring back the protagonist, right? The girl answered her. Why should she care? He would not come back anyway, no matter what they did. She was only worried about the fact that life in the lower world was extremely uncomfortable. Ellis asked her if she was going to change places with MC. After all, everything was not that simple down there. Minu answered that she was right. She wanted to change places with him. And if she did that, she might not be able to return from there anymore. Meanwhile, in the netherworld, the protagonist, his friends, and Livia were collecting ingredients for the antidote. When they collected 10 poisonous bee needles and 5 poisonous snake fangs, MC told them that it would be enough. Livia thanked them for their help in collecting the materials. She was very sorry for dumping all this on them and everyone else. The protagonist told her that she shouldn't worry about it, especially since she had recently recovered from an illness. He looked at his friends and noted that they seemed to want to fight. He thought that he had never had such a painful experience in the upper world, but now it was over. The skill Gacha was really good. To change this, he needs to continue enslaving demons. It is often difficult for him because there are skills that he cannot use alone. Livia told him that she really wanted to see how he uses Gacha. They approached the village and were met by several creatures, also similar to humans, like their queen. They greeted her joyfully and were happy that she was safe. They lamented that they were very worried about her. She disappeared so suddenly. She answered them that she had left them a note. The creatures scolded her. What was she thinking when she decided to go there alone with poisoning? Livia interrupted all their lectures and pointed them to the protagonist. She told them that this man cured her of poisoning. They worried, who is this savior who performed this miracle? And what is a man doing here anyway? The queen asked them all to calm down. This is not just a man, this is their savior. She introduced him to them as Crest. The villagers objected to her. After all, it was humans who banished them to the lower world. She answered them that the past can no longer be changed. But now, their main priority is to save the lives of the inhabitants of this village. The creatures invited him to the local infirmary, where the poisoned villagers were. Livia approached one of them, his name was Gobzo. She gave him a potion, which he drank. He immediately felt much better. His girlfriend hugged him because she was so worried about him. After a short time, the protagonist listened to endless thanks from everyone he saved. Livia told everyone that, as soon as they finished treating them, they would move on. She asked Gobzo to rest a little. He really needed it. He said that it was her, wasn't it? She always does this, but this time it was too selfish. She apologized to everyone and took her new friends to her house. This house had a place for guests, and she invited them to settle in. In fact, she would have liked to throw a welcome dinner for them, but she had to take responsibility for leaving the village. He thanked her for providing them with shelter. Entering the house, he was amazed not only by the exterior of the house, but also by its interior. But he was surprised that the bed was just fallen leaves. He saw that his friends were already fast asleep. He decided that he should lie down too, otherwise the whole day would be one battle. Protagonist thought that he should take a break. He thought about creating potion, magic, and water items. He would need a glass cup and an energy potion. The protagonist understood that the skills would not activate unless he hurriedly named them. Even if he looked back on it now, at the same time he could not allow himself to think about creating items. He drank the potion, looked at the lit candle, and thought of the put out the fire command. When MC opened his eyes, he saw that everything remained unchanged. Crest went to bed and the words skill, demon, gacha, demi-human, lower world boundary were spinning in his head. There were many more terms that he did not know the meaning of. The next day, he began to build a house. The creatures watched him do it in amazement. He explained to them that the house was built in an instant, and that it was the same in structure and complexity as Livia's. He added that he was thinking of rebuilding their houses that had been damaged during the attack. The protagonist asked the villagers if it would be okay if they were like that. Didn't they know when those creatures might attack again? Livia expressed her admiration for the protagonist. He modestly answered that he simply had this skill. MC asked her if she could cook. The girl smiled, she answered him in the affirmative, and added that she was lending him a helping hand. He suggested that she make sashimi from a baby crab, and that she could make a wonderful soup from its remains. The girl had never heard such names for dishes, sashimi, soup, and her assistants were also perplexed. The protagonist poured water into a bowl and put it on the fire. When the water boiled, he put a crab in it and explained to the girl that when meat is cooked this way, it develops flavor, and that salt should also be added. Livia did not know that such a thing as salt existed. When the soup was cooked and the queen tasted it, she admired its taste. She told him that he knew a lot of things, and that he also knew how to use an iron cup. No one in the village even knew about this. The protagonist also built them something like a washing place, where they poured water on each other to wash themselves. MC saw that one goblin created a small water ball. He asked the girl in surprise if this goblin could use magic. She answered him that they could all use some other magic skills, but this goblin was the only one who could use water magic. Crest exclaimed that they could use a bath then to ease the strain on their mage. Livia had never heard of this word before, and he used his blacksmithing skill to create a bath for them. But she said that she didn't know how to use it. The protagonist thought, what's wrong with this village? It was already dark and he returned to the house. The protagonist saw his friends near the kennel. He was amazed at how the two of them could live in it. But after all, they really were monsters. He wondered if they would calm down in such a quiet place. He lay down on the bed and thought with pleasure that he hadn't slept on such a soft bed for a long time. It was as if he was floating in the air. If Livia would allow him to rebuild her house, he would want a more comfortable bed for himself. The protagonist kept thinking, sashimi, soup, these are unusual things for the people of this village. Of course, he didn't want to think about them with prejudice, but it was just strange to him. At that moment, Livia came into the room and asked him if he was still asleep. He told her that he was still awake and was immediately taken aback. She came to him in transparent clothes. The protagonist asked her if something had happened. She told him that no, just as the head of the village, she would like to thank him for everything he had done for them. After all, thanks to him, the standard of living in the village had increased significantly. She was the leader. She was obliged to protect the village. And yet, this could not continue. Otherwise, she would be the cause of their death. He muttered in response to her, so that she would not be so pessimistic. The girl turned to him with one request. Could he marry her? MC was completely confused. Not only had he not yet fully recovered from her appearance and behavior, now this offer. When he was able to think more or less, he understood why she was dressed like that. There was nothing wrong with staying in the same bed with a guy at night. They wouldn't teach that in noble houses, and she wanted to do that. The girl took his reaction as an agreement to her proposal. She moved closer to him and offered him to seal their agreement. The protagonist pushed her away in panic. He explained to her that he was not forcing her to do anything. She was not obliged to do anything at all. If she had problems, she should just tell him about them. Livia told him about the alliance with the werewolves. The alliance is just a name. They want her and her inhabitants under their control. In addition, they seem to be in crisis due to the recent monster outbreak, so they need offspring from goblins who can mate with other races. If things continue like this, the werewolves will soon take them over. The protagonist finally learned the reason for the wedding. He apologized to her and told her that he doesn't like arranged marriages and stuff. He won't have a wedding with her. MC threw his outerwear over her to cover her naked body. She wanted to ask him why. He didn't let her finish and continued that he can't close his eyes to the fact that she and the goblins are in a difficult situation. He will just help them. Livia rushed to him to thank him, but he pulled away and advised her to get dressed. The girl cried and told him that she was sorry that he saw her in such an outfit. She never really wears it. Let him not think badly of her. He told her that he didn't think about it. He asked her to calm down. One thought came to his mind, and he asked her if she was not interested in clothes or something like that. Livia thought about his question. She didn't have much interest in it. In the past, there were craftsmen who did this, but now they are gone, so they have no one to sew clothes. And then the village began to lose interest in it. Her clothes were inherited from her ancestors, so she did not mind wearing them at all. The protagonist thought, it seems that they do not understand this very well, despite the ability to work with weapons and farming tools. In the end, only Livius's house was equipped. They do not have a continuity of technology. In the upper world, there are many technologies other than weaponry that can be learned, but here it seems that technology is dead. He did not know the reason for its degradation, but if this continues, the clan and the village will die out. The girl asked him not to think wrongly. This is not the reason why she wears such clothes. MC used the skill tailoring technology and created an outfit for her. He spoke to her, handing her the clothes. He asked her, how about she try it on? Livia tried on the new outfit. She was absolutely delighted with it. The protagonist told her in a satisfactory manner that he was very glad that she liked it. The girl asked him if she could keep the outfit for herself. Crest told her that of course she could keep it for herself. She thanked him and promised him that she would keep these clothes for the rest of her life. After some time, the protagonist with his friends and Livia came to the werewolves. The king of the werewolves, Orpheus, came out to them. He expressed his joy at meeting her. She greeted him back. He suggested that she return to the topic of conversation. If she came here, it meant that she had agreed to their union after all. The girl resolutely refused him. She would not agree to this. Orpheus said irritably that he must have misheard her. He suggested that she clarify again to be sure. She came here because she had agreed to their union. Is that right? Livia repeated again that she would not talk about it, because that was not why she came here. Orpheus muttered that it could not be helped, and called his squad. He told them that they were going to the goblin village. The protagonist stood up and told them to wait a little. When the leader of the werewolves asked who he was, he answered that his name was Crest. MC continued that although he was a human, he was indebted to the goblin village for personal reasons. Orpheus' squad whispered, what was a human doing in the lower world? The protagonist told them that they were not here to fight them. They wanted to make an alliance with them on equal terms. Orpheus proudly exclaimed to this, do not let Crest make him laugh. Proud werewolves are no match for some goblins. His squad enthusiastically supported their leader, expressing their desire to kill those who came. The protagonist prepared for the attack, told his friends to be ready. Orpheus heard him address his friends. He thought, this goblin and wolf, could it be so? He asked them, who gave this monster a magical name? The protagonist heard his phrase. He was hooked by the expression, magical name. Livia answered that this name was invented by Crest. Unlike the others, he has many abilities. For him, giving names is like having breakfast. MC asked her to explain to him what a magical name is. The girl was surprised. He gave it to two creatures and he does not know what it is? A magical name, otherwise mana, is a special name given to specific creatures under certain conditions. They say that a person with such a name is given enhancements for various abilities. The protagonist understood a lot. He asked her, is her name also magical? Orpheus called out to them. He turned to MC. Since he is a human, he will consider him a representative of the goblins. He announced that he, the werewolf king, was challenging him, the goblin representative, to a duel. If he won, the goblins would follow them, and only they would give them magical names. Ignoring Livia's objections, the protagonist replied that he was fine with everything for now. But what if he, Crest, won? Orpheus replied that he could then do whatever he wanted. The werewolf leader suggested that he put all conversations aside. He proclaimed that he, the werewolf king Orpheus, and the goblin representative Crest, were announcing a duel. Livia apologized to the protagonist for the fact that all the blame fell on him as a result. He reassured her that everything was fine. It was just that his name had become a subject of bargaining, but it was good that all this had not come to war. He added that he did not want to be a fool, and he could not stand it when he was exploited unilaterally. She wished him luck, and the start of the duel was announced. Orpheus and Crest entered into a fierce fight with each other. But no matter how many times the werewolf leader made attacks, the protagonist deftly dodged each blow. He did not take any counteraction. The werewolf warriors were puzzled. Why MC avoided all the attacks of their king? Because of this, their leader could not do anything with him. Orpheus growled at the protagonist, saying that it was useless if he decided to wear him out. It seems that he underestimated the physical strength of wolves. MC thought that a long time had passed since he fought with swords. His body remembered what he was taught in the aristocratic school. He can't rush too much. He needs to be calmer and regain control of the situation. The protagonist, all this time, was just waiting for the right moment to use his martial arts skill. He waited for this moment, and as soon as the enemy opened up in the angle he needed, MC dealt him a crushing blow. But Crest did not kill the enemy. He put his sword to his throat. The werewolf warriors whispered that there was a winner in this duel. It could not be that their king lost. Orpheus asked the protagonist to kill him, because now he would be too ashamed to live on. MC answered him that no one was going to kill him. Didn't he say before the duel that Crest could do whatever he wanted if he won? He would live, and he would make an alliance with them, or rather, with the goblins, but on equal terms. MC supported him. He told him that his shame was not that he remained alive, but that he wanted to leave his people and die first. The werewolf king's warriors exclaimed that he was the only one they considered the rightful heir of their people. And if the Lord King left them, they would not be able to live without him. Orpheus was touched by the loyalty of his warriors, but he had no right to show them his joy at their loyalty, so he muttered to them not to show him their weakness. He addressed the protagonist as his boss. He told him that if he wanted to use him in any way, he would like to be his sword. Orpheus turned to his warriors. He announced to them that from today on, the protagonist is their boss. MC finally managed to get a word in the leader of the werewolves' speech. He told them that he was not going to be their boss. Livia shouted at him that she was impressed by what he told them earlier, so she swore allegiance to him too. The protagonist thought with annoyance, and Livia too, and the warriors were already chanting that Crest is their chief and leader. MC muttered that he wasn't going to be their boss, but if the werewolves and goblins were to sign an alliance like that, it would be justified, and he would then need to be their leader. He turned to Orpheus, saying that the girl wouldn't marry him. The werewolf leader seemed to be euphoric and started to say that yes, of course, they had agreed on everything, but then the meaning of what the protagonist had said dawned on him, and he exclaimed, "What is MC talking about? He wasn't going to start a family with anyone." Livia was surprised, but wasn't that what he had suggested when they were talking about an alliance? Orpheus clarified the situation. He just needed strong warriors, and he had heard about the fighting power of the Goblin Queen a long time ago. The girl was very ashamed. She had made a big mistake by turning herself into a tragic heroine. The protagonist smiled and told them that in the end, everything turned out quite well. And as for the strong warrior, he asked the werewolf leader, was it all because of the demons that were getting stronger in the lower world? Orpheus answered in the negative. It was needed for some purposes. He needed more than one warrior. Crest asked him to tell him more about this purpose. The werewolf king told him in a trembling voice that what he was going to talk about was a monstrous past that had happened in their village. It was the story of a war werewolf who had been blinded by his sins. After a while, the goblins began to discuss, wondering if Crest and Livia were okay. Another one wondered, those two couldn't fail, could they? Suddenly, another goblin entered the room and warned them. They were in danger. A horde of werewolves was heading towards their village. They immediately began to scream in fear, saying he couldn't possibly mean to say that Crest and Livia had been killed. All the goblins went outside and saw the werewolves, who bowed their heads and shouted, asking for forgiveness for any inconvenience this might cause. At this point, Orpheus explained that they used to live in a village further north. At that time, his father was their king, and he had to decide who would succeed him. But his father died, or was killed before he could declare an heir to his brother Verd. His father wrote his name on a tablet, naming him his heir. When his brother found out, he flew into a rage and killed him on the spot. And he also accused him of killing their father. They even tried to execute them. Livia pathetically noted that this was terrible. The chief werewolf's assistants whispered that he was a man of principle and was good to them, nobodies. Orpheus said that he was on the verge of execution when those guys from his father's group saved him, so he managed to escape. He should have told them about it first. They could have put themselves in danger by detaining him. MC put a hand on his shoulder and explained that they had an alliance. He should not worry about it. Orpheus replied that he appreciated it. The protagonist suggested that they should work on this, and they will think about how to arrange their life. The first is the issue of segregation, which was before. After a while they came to the goblins. The protagonist apologized for his harshness and said that the werewolf tribe decided to move here. Orpheus asked, in order to apologize for the troubles he caused them, let them give him and his guys work. One of the goblins said, if Mrs. Livia and Crest do not mind. MC smiled and noted that now he was going to go explore the western part. The goblin asked, so he was going to use his skills to build a house? The protagonist answered negatively, saying that werewolves cut down trees and build houses themselves. He pointed his hand at the girl and explained that there was someone who had construction skills. She noted with a smile that she was pleased to meet them. She can only draw blueprints, but she is not even close to the level of Crest. Still, she will help build a house. MC said that from now on he wants her and her team to do construction in the village. They can also bring other skills, such as cooking, farming, and creating clothes, to the development of this village. The goblins happily remarked, they had never thought of this before. This was pretty cool. They pounced on him, asking if there was anything they could do to help. The protagonist stopped them, saying they were going to chop some wood first. For a while, all the werewolves and goblins began to work hard and build houses. When it got dark, they all gathered in the house and, raising their mugs of alcohol, the protagonist shouted, now it's time to celebrate the friendship between the two races. Livia came up to him and called out to him. MC remarked, she was just in time. He wanted everyone to look at this for a bit. He would name the Goblin Queen and the Werewolf King. A few hours ago, Livia called out to the protagonist and remarked that she had an urgent request. She knew it was a bit much, but could he give them a magical name? The protagonist agreed and asked when they would start. Livia was surprised by the quick answer and asked if he was sure. Orpheus remarked, he heard that it was quite a complicated ritual. MC explained, no, he'll just name them. Are they sure they wanted to keep the magic name as it is now? They both agreed to his question. The protagonist added, then tonight they would hold a ceremony in front of everyone to give them magic names. Currently, Orpheus knelt down in front of him. The protagonist called out to him and said, from now on he allows him to take the name Orph as his magic name. The werewolf immediately exclaimed that he felt a surge of strength in his body. MC walked up to the other one and said, from now on, He allows her to take the name Livia as her magic name. She remembered Goblia saying that her appearance had changed after taking the name. Maybe she could. After the ritual was done, she looked at herself and asked disappointedly, "She hadn't changed, right?" The protagonist happily replied, "No, their status had increased significantly." After that, they approached the goblins. MC apologized for the wait and shouted, "Now they will give them all magical names." The werewolves wondered if he was going to give them that too. The protagonist agreed, and the others added that they would develop the village together. The status of each resident should also be high. He shouted, "Then first let them tell him their names." The goblins immediately started shouting to get in first. MC calmed them down and said let them get in line. After some time in the upper world, King Resiphael VII said, "Let them raise their heads." He would like to discuss the current situation with each of them. First, the Habast house. One of those present reported that Alibretto was still missing, but they were doing their best in their situation. The king interrupted him, saying that he was not asking them about that. "Crest has not returned yet? Let them immediately send a new search party there." Duke Refold replied that there are so many demons in this territory that they cannot deal with them all. If they want to ensure the return of Crest, they must send Alice. Another voiced that he thought Mina would be the best choice to search in the lower world. She can act on her own, without an escort. Resiphael VII replied that neither of these were good choices. Even now, Eris is protecting the royal city using her skills from the underground temple. They cannot be sure that stronger demons will not attack them in the future. Those present began to shout that Mina would be enough to protect the upper world. Let him send Alice. Another voiced that the upper world needs the skills of a mistress. He will send Mina to search in the lower world. Another voiced that no, they must not let anything happen. At this time, Mina herself was wondering when she would see Crest again. At this time in the lower world, MC shouted that she should watch the enemy carefully. Her body is carried away after she swings her sword. Livia slashed with her sword and defeated the gorilla. The protagonist thought about it. He had given all the villagers a magical name, and now he was teaching them how to hunt and handle weapons. He remarked that he hadn't expected her swordsmanship to go so far. Livia replied that she was surprised too. Those mountain monkeys had been tormenting the goblin tribes for years. She couldn't believe that a magical name made it so easy to defeat them. Suddenly, a goblin approached her and reported that they had found unfamiliar mushrooms. Another happily remarked that she looked like the old Livia again. Ever since the lady met Crest, she laughed a lot, like a little girl. Let him please continue to be a source of support for her. The MC agreed and looked at the monkey corpse. Livia approached him and apologized for the delay. She asked if he knew how to eat monkey meat. The protagonist replied, "No, such flesh is not his." Suddenly, he noticed a point counter above the animal's corpse. Livia asked with interest, "Is something wrong?" The protagonist replied negatively and wondered, "Don't they see points when they defeat enemies?" The girl noted, "They could still be nearby, they should continue hunting." MC thought, "This can't be. 15,000 points?" He accumulated Gacha for 33 times. After a while, the protagonist, sitting in the house, thought, he doesn't remember collecting points. And this number appeared in the afternoon when Livia killed one demon. No, calm down, it really is a level that was later revised downwards. Then he only got one. Before everything is fixed, he will pretend not to notice it and quickly tidy up. Suddenly, Livia entered the room and asked if she could have a word with him. The protagonist screamed in fear. What was the matter? She asked. Was he busy with something? The MC replied, "No, he was just looking at the screen with Gacha. There is a Gacha screen here, can't she see anything?" The girl, perplexed, agreed, saying that she can't see anything. If it doesn't inconvenience him, can she watch it next to him? The protagonist agreed, but she won't understand what he's doing. Livia replied, just being next to him, she feels like she's starting to understand it, so... She walked up to him, saw the system window and noticed she saw it too. Maybe it's because she touched it? MC replied, "I see, then he thinks he can show her what Gacha is." Livia asked him to please show her. The protagonist sheepishly agreed and wondered, is this some kind of custom? After what happened last night. Although it would be better not to ask too many questions. The girl pressed the button and said, "Then they will do the first 11 rounds." In an instant, colorful balls appeared above them. Livia asked in surprise, "Is this the skill, Gacha? It is so sparkling and beautiful, and these rainbow-colored balls look like precious stones." These balls began to glow. MC explained, "The balls from this gacha have rarity levels: rainbow, gold, silver, and bronze. The best skills are the rainbow-colored balls." Livia pointed to the ball with the demon inside and asked, "Is this a summoner?" The protagonist explained, "It is a skill that instantly summons contract demons. The rainbow ball always brings an improved skill, every month." In May, he had already obtained 3 different summoning skills. Livia asked if he got these 3 types, does he need to spin again? MC replied, "No, If he got the same skill, the bonus is on top, and the effect will stack. But a maximum of 4 rainbow balls would be needed. The girl asked if she could look at the other skills. The protagonist agreed and offered to open them all at once. Suddenly, a huge number of skill balls appeared. Livia was surprised to see that there were so many skills. MC noted that the colors of steel were for skills that improve abilities. Silver ones were for technology, and gold ones were for magic skills. With the exception of the rainbow colors, there seems to be no level cap, so the more he collects, the more he upgrades them. Livia wondered if there weren't any? The protagonist agreed and explained that he had leveled up many useful skills, so the results were good. She asked if it was possible that the results were worse because of her presence. MC replied in the negative, saying that was usually the case. Besides, he was all alone here. It was so much fun to figure out Gacha with her. Livia smiled and replied, then she was happy too. Suddenly she fell asleep sitting on him. She was always so collected as a leader. Ever since Crest arrived, she looked like a child of her age. MC put her to bed and suggested that maybe she had played enough Gacha and was tired. Then, let her rest. After a while, Verd, standing next to the werewolves, growled fiercely. They asked fearfully, is he here to make an alliance? He said furiously, let them not compare him with this imposter wolf cub. He may be offering an alliance, but his only condition is that they will be his slaves. Let them choose to be his slaves or die on the spot. The protagonist and Orpheus saw a trace on their way. This sign is probably a Poikin snake and quite a large one. In order to prepare for the battle against the werewolves in the north, they decided to gather a Gacha point in the northern area. The protagonist asked Orpheus if they had not yet reached the territory of the northern wolves. The werewolf answered negatively and said that he could not worry. The protagonist asked if there were any villages nearby that did not belong to werewolves. Perhaps they could form an alliance? Orpheus said that he needed to think about it. He remembered the slime tribe. Suddenly, strange sounds were heard nearby. They saw the snake preparing to attack the slime. A chase ensued. The snake moved very quickly. It had already opened its mouth and was ready to swallow the slime. Orpheus came to the rescue and plunged his sword into the monster. It inflicted a serious wound on it. The snake was not going to retreat. It continued its hunt for the slime. Livia used her weapon in time. She plunged the sword into the snake's head. Blood spurted in all directions. The snake let out a last shrill scream and fell to the ground. No one was hurt. She approached the slime, which miraculously remained alive, and asked if everything was okay. It answered positively and thanked them. The protagonist asked if she was the slime. A girl suddenly appeared from the liquid substance. She answered positively and asked who they were. The protagonist introduced himself as a man. He said that he was solving problems in the nearest goblin village. Livia introduced herself as the Goblin Queen. Orpheus approached the team. The slime felt fear upon seeing him. She screamed that he was a werewolf. Wasn't he the one? She changed her appearance and flew away. At last, she screamed that he wanted to kill her. Orpheus shouted at her to stop, but the slime had already disappeared among the treetops. The partners decided to wait and try to get her to talk. The slime calmed down, went down and decided to tell her story. She said that the wolf tribe that offered them an alliance had been trying to weave them together from the very beginning. Many of their people died, their villages were burned to the ground, and now they were hiding. Orpheus said that it was his fault. If he had the strength, everything would be different. The protagonist thought about it and then asked the slime to do them a favor. He offered to form an alliance with them. The girl was surprised by this, but eventually agreed. She said that she would accompany them to her village because they seemed to her not the worst characters. She warned the partners that now, whether they get out of the village alive or not, depends only on its leader. The werewolf asked the protagonist for forgiveness. He said that it was his fault that the slime hated him. Crest said that it was not his fault at all. He was too strict with himself. MC said that it is much more important to think about the future than to dwell on the past, which they cannot change. The partners entered the cave. The protagonist asked the slime if the village is in one of these caves. She answered negatively. She said that the village is right ahead. She added that this cave is full of puddles. It leads to several exits. It is a good place to hide, just in case someone is pursuing. The protagonist thought that it will be difficult to catch them by surprise. They passed the cave and came out into a clearing. The slime said that this is their village, or rather, it is a large swamp. There were many trees around the swamp, on the branches of which slime sat. They began to whisper and look. Who came to them? Are they people, demons, goblins, subhumans? Then their gaze stopped on Orpheus. The slugs screamed that it was a werewolf. Some slugs screamed for strangers to get out of here. The others were shouting that they needed to be killed. They couldn't let them find out about their village. A female voice was heard through these shouts, ordering them to calm down. An incredibly beautiful girl came out to meet the partners. The stranger asked who this person was. She said that they should know that they were not welcome here. The protagonist and the partners explained the purpose of their arrival. The girl listened to them attentively and said that regarding the salvation of her people, for her part, she thanked them. She sat down on a large, beautiful flower, no less beautiful than herself, and asked what a person who was expelled from the upper world and has a desire to unite subhumans and demons wants. Crest said that he wants an alliance. As long as the wolves of the north pose a threat to them, he thinks that they should join forces. He said that he knows that they are worried about the fact that there are werewolves in their camp. He explained that Orpheus would never harm a squad of civilians, and he is sure that they will be able to help them. The slime leader said that she knew why they hated werewolves, but they also hated humans. The protagonist was surprised to hear this. She asked if he was from the upper world, so had he ever heard of Aquafield? The protagonist answered positively. He had heard a lot about it because it was nearby. The waterways that ran through the country were stable all year round. It was a major logistics hub. At first glance, it was a beautiful and idealistic place. The girl said that this utopia was created by using slimes as slaves. On stormy days, all the slimes worked together to control the flooding of the waterways. Some of them had to commit terrible acts. They lived as weak-willed slaves, but at the same time they became more and more self-aware. Naturally, at one point they decided to escape. She asked MC how they were able to escape. He answered that they probably had some kind of transitional magic circle in their country. She said that it wasn't quite like that. They escaped by simply falling into the river. They had no idea where they could go. Out of sight of the guards, she ran down the river and fell into a large waterfall. Next thing she could remember was being washed up on the shore down there. Then she touched her face and said how ironic, wasn't it? She thought she could forget about everything in a place where there were no people. But her body took the form of a subhuman. She told them everything she shouldn't have and asked if they now understood why they hated humans. The protagonist said that she could hate him as much as she wanted. But when the wolves of the north invaded, they would treat them just as badly as they had then. Or even worse. The slime leader said that he was wrong. They had already been deceived, but if they tried, they would not lose. She said that they have low resistance to magic. They can only use physical attacks. Partly it will be an advantage. The protagonist thought that if they were more serious, then the enemies would not be so strong. He thought that she may not express it, but he can definitely tell that this is what she thinks. He asked the girl, does it mean that they refuse to create an alliance with them? She replied that she does not intend to enter into an agreement. She does not want to aggravate their problems by getting involved in this. She said that they will solve their problem with the wolves themselves and suggested just not to interfere with each other. The protagonist thought that they want to maintain neutrality. He said that he understood their position. Crest, he introduced himself. Sufi, the leader of the slimes, introduced herself. They shook hands and parted ways. The partners returned to the village and began to build walls around it. They surprised all the villagers with this. The protagonist said that he would like to build something strong, preferably from stone, but he does not have the necessary skills. He drew a tall fence with sharp ends and showed it to the girl who was doing construction in the werewolf squad. He told her that they also needed to build it, and a tower wouldn't hurt. They could see far from it. The girl nodded and said that she understood the task. She asked the protagonist, does this mean that the war is about to start? He answered that it is not yet certain, but still need to be prepared, so they need to get to work. All the villagers were ready to start the task. The protagonist turned to some of them who had high agility. He said that they would take turns looking after the slime village. At the moment they are in greater danger of attack. He knows that they promise not to interfere with each other, but he does not want new victims. He said that they also need to forge new weapons. Goblins who are proficient in the art of forging should do this. He shouted that if everyone understands everything, then they can get to work. The protagonist said he would go help with the fortifications. A voice came from behind him and called out to him. Orpheus asked Crest to train him. Livia went into the forest to find the protagonist and the werewolf. She saw the guys fighting with swords. The wolf missed a blow, he got it good. He stood up and asked for another try. The protagonist said that if he rushed, he would never learn. He promised him to continue after a short break. Orpheus thought about it. After Crest gave him a magical name, he felt that his statuses had increased significantly. But he will never forget the way his brother looked at him after he killed their father. He concluded that he should not be like him. But Orpheus understood that he could not defeat him. One thought came to the protagonist's mind. He asked if they had ever learned any kind of fencing. The werewolf answered negatively, although he was learning to use a sword for self-defense. The Goblin Queen also answered negatively. She did not have fencing skills. The protagonist asked if Orpheus had noticed anything in their duels. He answered that he had a certain mobility in combat. The protagonist answered positively. This is fencing. He said that he combines practical skills with magical ones. For example, he uses fire magic to improve the body and speed up the attack. He showed them this. They watched the magic in surprise. He said that in addition, the water sword can predict the enemy's movement like flowing water and finish them off with one blow. The werewolf and the goblin enthusiastically said that reading the enemy's movements in advance is amazing. The protagonist said that usually all 4 attributes need to learn fencing, but since they have little time, they will focus on the styles they are good at for now. Livia answered positively. Orpheus remained silent, and then said that he was not sure if he could do it. He had always had difficulty with magic, so he had fought using only strength until now. He thought that he might not be able to live up to expectations, but he still wants to stop his brother's rampage and avenge his father and friends, and there is nothing wrong with his desire. He turned to Crest and asked to teach him fencing. The protagonist calmed him down and said that he will become the greatest of the werewolves. Haverst Manor, Upper Realm. The head of the family learned that his son Alibret had been kidnapped by goblins from the Nether Realm. The servant told him that according to the story of the knight who had escaped, Alibret had been stripped of his clothes and his feet smashed with stones. Then he had been dragged deep into the forest. The father was horrified. He screamed and repeated his son's name. The second son tried to bring him to his senses and asked him to calm down. Leon Haverst, the 4th son of the house, said that Alibret had told him that he had a secret plan. And now this is what it had led to. He and Crest had become a disgrace to the house. Leon said that he had heard his eldest brother go down with only his knights. He thought it must have looked rather funny to see a bunch of amateurs from the lower realms riding around with weapons at the ready. He entered his room and turned to the servant Marnis. He asked her if he was not right. She answered positively. She said that the Lord was right as always. He came closer to her and slapped her. He split her lip, but the girl remained silent. He asked how long she intended to remain in human form. The girl apologized for this. She changed her appearance and turned into a beautiful fox. Leon yelled at her. He said that he asked her not to take human form when she was alone with him. He warned that if she did it again, he would kill her. Marnis apologized. He accepted her apology and asked if the stones were ready. She answered positively, said that she had it. The girl handed him a box with it and said that it temporarily strengthens the magic in his body. These are very powerful magic stones. The Lord took it in his hands. Marnis said that the magic stones also have the effect of neutralizing harmful elements from the lower realms. She is sure that they will live up to Leon's expectations. He asked the girl how much she remembered about Crest. She asked if it was about Master Leon's brother. She said that, with all due respect, she didn't know anything else. He thought about it. It seemed that even a fox with rich magical knowledge couldn't resist a slave caller. She used to be Crest's maid, so he was afraid that she would try something strange. But now he thought that his fears were groundless. He said that tomorrow he would bring his brother back home and gave her the task of making sure everything was ready. She answered positively. The fox said that she hoped that when Master Leon returned, he would become the head of this house. He got angry, told her to shut her mouth and disappear. He didn't need her anymore. She apologized and left the room. He cursed. He smiled evilly and said that becoming the head of the house was the result. He would wait for Crest to return to repay him for the humiliation he felt when he lost to him in a duel. Memories from the past. The servants of the house were talking among themselves. One guy asked another if he had heard the news. He said that Master Leon was going to have a mock battle with Crest. They thought that if Crest's brother was the most powerful man in the knighthood, then he should be even stronger. The start of the duel was announced. But no one could predict the outcome. Everyone was shocked when Crest won. People whispered why Master Leon lost. Was he in bad shape? Someone said that he was simply not good enough. He remembered this defeat and harbored a great grudge against the protagonist. Meanwhile, in the village, the construction was going well. All the villagers worked hard, and that was enough for today. The werewolf guys joked among themselves that they sweated more than usual today. The protagonist turned to Orpheus. He asked his style of cut sword is becoming more and more precise, right? He answered in the negative. He said his brother was releasing catastrophically high energy. If there was even the slightest crack, it would be absorbed in one fell swoop. The protagonist decided to ask him, although it was a bit late to ask, but what was his brother's goal? To conquer this entire region. He answered that it was possible to confront the subhumans in the north. The further north, the stronger the demons and subhumans. But Orpheus was against the ways his brother was guided because he made people follow him out of fear or threat of violence. He said that some werewolves had betrayed him, but he was sure that most of them were afraid of his brother and followed him because they had no choice. The protagonist said that he would help them if he could. Orpheus looked at the protagonist in surprise. MC asked what happened. He answered that he thought Crest was not like that. The werewolf was silent for a while and said that in his youth his brother was kind and strong. The protagonist was surprised by this. He asked if it was true. He answered positively. He said that his brother used to be good. He does not know exactly when his brother went crazy. Maybe it happened too quickly and many times. MC said maybe if they figured out the reason they could stop this whole fight. Orpheus said sadly that maybe they could start living again. The protagonist didn't hear what he said and asked him to repeat it. But the werewolf answered him harshly to forget about it. Now they should gather strength for the upcoming events. The protagonist was worried about Orpheus's condition. But suddenly, strange sounds were heard behind him. Someone grabbed him by the hair. He screamed that it hurt. It was his friends, Rufuna and Goblia. They were acting like they were crazy. MC screamed for the goblin to stop pulling his hair. He asked what they were doing. The werewolf said maybe they want you to play with them? The protagonist was surprised by this and asked them if it was true. The wolf and the little goblin answered positively. They made it clear with their whole appearance that they missed him. Crest said that he had been training so much lately that he hadn't been able to pay attention to them at all. He apologized for that and promised to fix everything. Orpheus smiled and said that he would go rest. The protagonist looked at him sadly. He thought about how he didn't know if the werewolf brothers would get a second chance and whether they would fix all of this. But he would definitely prefer it if it were possible. He also thought about what would happen if they couldn't. If they couldn't talk some sense into him, Orpheus would have to stop him. Flashback. The protagonist came to the dean's office to find out why he was the only one who failed the knighthood exam. The principal told him that he heard Crest bribing the students to lose. The protagonist screamed in indignation. He said that he hadn't done anything like that. He said that he didn't understand what the teacher was talking about. The dean's representative said that he was sorry about that and the protagonist would be punished accordingly. MC asked the principal to listen to him, but he left the office and closed the door behind him. Returning home, Crest was subjected to a brutal beating. His 3 older brothers mocked him. They said that he was a disgrace to the Haverst house. They asked, is this how he repaid them for everything, by humiliating the family? The main character screamed that he did nothing, but it was as if no one heard him. The 4th brother looked at this and smiled maliciously. He was having fun from everything that was happening. Crest saw his brother Leon. He realized that it was his mean act. He set him up. He thought about his brothers and now he wondered, will they, the brothers, be able to start all over again? Brothers hate each other and beat all the bad out of each other. This is the way of the world. He thought that their reconciliation is impossible. He heard someone calling him. He woke up and saw that Livia was next to him. She woke him up and asked if he was okay. She said that he looked bad. The protagonist replied that everything was fine. He just had a strange dream. The girl calmed down when she realized that he was okay. MC was a little out of it. He did not like that he saw these memories again. He will need some time to come to his senses. Livia came to say that something happened. They went outside and saw a wounded werewolf. Friends brought him. He was groaning in pain and asked to bring him a healing potion. The protagonist came closer and asked what was that. The werewolf said that 3 fighting wolves from the north came to their village. Everyone was perplexed. He said that they screwed up and the wolves found them. He was sorry. The werewolf leader said that he would never forgive those idiots. One of the allies asked how they managed to return alive. The wounded werewolf said that it was thanks to daily training. The protagonist thanked them for the report. He changed the name Orpheus, using it as a code to indicate that something was wrong, and called him to step aside for a few words. Left alone, the werewolf prince asked if the wolves missed on purpose. The protagonist said that the wolves followed him to calculate their base. He used his sense skill to see those wolves. He felt them and saw their appearance. It was definitely them. It was decided to go and intercept them. The wolves tried to hide from pursuit. They ran with all their might. When suddenly the ground moved and a wall appeared in front of them. The wolves were shocked by what was happening. The ground rose so suddenly. A voice came from behind them, telling them that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Orpheus said that they couldn't let them leave. One of the wolves laughed. He asked if this was the king's younger brother. He asked the prince how he felt about being the leader of the losers. The protagonist said that he was the head of the organization where Orpheus was currently working, and if this wolf had anything to say, he should say it to him. They laughed in 3 voices. They said that the loser had been turned into a pet dog. With these words, they angered Crest and Livius. The werewolf turned to his friends. He told them to listen to him. The three of them had a terrible aura. They had the same one as his brother. He said that he had a very bad feeling about this. His friends needed to be vigilant. The protagonist said that he would be on the alert. The wolves told Orpheus that they had no need to run away from idiots like him. They would cut off his head right then and there, and bring it to the true king. One of the three said that they were just using something. They took something strange out of their pockets and swallowed it. Orpheus screamed. He said that this couldn't be. The protagonist didn't understand what they were talking about. The prince said that it was a magic stone. The wolves swallowed it. The main one said that now he could become the most powerful werewolf, just like the king. The process of transformation began. They grimaced and hissed shrilly. Then a powerful roar was heard and they turned into something huge. The friends didn't understand what was happening. They were shocked by this. The three from the enemy team turned into huge, frightening wolves. The protagonist cursed and asked what it was. The wolf growled and rushed to attack. Crest shouted that it was approaching. Livia readied her sword and rushed into battle. Her training had not been in vain. She was able to inflict a wound on the wolf. But imagine her surprise when the wound began to heal instantly. She shouted that the opposing team was unusually strengthened by a magic stone. MC said that he understood this and warned the guys that they need to keep up the pace. He told Livia to remember how her usual training goes. The girl answered positively. The wolf's wound had already completely healed, and he pounced on Livia again. She concentrated and used her water blade skill. She dealt an incredibly strong blow with magic. The goblin princess pierced the wolf and split the magic stone that was inside it. The magical effect of this disappeared, and the wolf fell. Livia passed this information to her partners so that they also target the magic stone inside the wolves' bodies. Destroying it takes them out of control. Her friends shouted to her that they would do the same. The battle was over. The wolves were dead. They had managed to destroy them. The protagonist said that if the three did not return, their base would notice that something was wrong and their partners might come to investigate the area in the near future. He asked Orpheus if he was okay. He answered positively. He said that these guys knew no mercy. He said that one day a stranger approached him about a deal with a magic stone. He did not recognize the face of the seller, but he called himself a vampire. Livia said that vampires or foxes have magic. They can also make various magic tools. The werewolf got angry and said that his father was a man of chivalry and hated magic tools. That's why they rejected it. Orpheus said that he had no idea that a vampire was selling magic stones to his brother behind his back. He approached the corpse of the wolf and said that now they are no longer people, they are demons. He called it madness to let the younger generation wear such a thing. The team returned to the village. The protagonist said that they killed the northerners nearby so they can expand their search area. So all the villagers should be on guard and continue training. The teammates answered positively. The protagonist thought about it. After defeating the wolves, the partners decided to keep quiet about the magic stones for now. If they scare them away, it will lead to the opposite effect. However, with their current strength, the worst that can happen is that they are wiped off the face of the earth. Something worried him. He said that he will go to the slime village. Orpheus did not expect this. He was surprised. Livia asked the protagonist, "Is this still about the alliance?" The werewolf said that it is one thing, but first they need to share information about the magic stone. The protagonist remembered that Sufi said that they were weak, that magic stones and magic tools could pose a threat to the slime. He said that Orpheus was right. They should tell about the danger in advance. Maybe they would change their point of view. The werewolf asked if he could go with the protagonist. The protagonist answered negatively. He would go with someone else. Rufuna barked behind him. The protagonist said that he had been so busy with training and stuff lately that Goblia was offended. So today, the three of them had to explore the forest for the first time in a long time. The protagonist turned to Rufuna. He said that they would need to go to a certain place, although it was not what they had planned, but they needed to go now. He asked the she-wolf where Goblia was. She responded with a bark. He said that he had no choice but to use his summoning skill. They were short of time. He asked, "Is Goblia still in a bad mood?" The she-wolf shook her head and answered negatively. The protagonist communicated with his she-wolf for some time. Orpheus watched this. He was surprised that the wolf understood the protagonist. The protagonist was worried about the movements of the fighting wolves from the north. He told Goblia to report to him as soon as she discovered any danger. He equipped the she-wolf for the road, hung a healing potion on her neck, just in case. He told Rufun to take him to Goblia. The she-wolf barked and led him along. Meanwhile, in the forest, in a flower meadow, Goblia was sitting. She was weaving a wreath of flowers. She was thinking about the protagonist, how she would present it to him. He would put it on his head and thank her. She was immersed in her thoughts and did not even hear someone approach her. Leon grabbed Goblia by the hair and lifted her off the ground. She screamed in fear. He asked, "Is that the goblin woman who beat Albert?" The protagonist and the wolf walked through the forest looking for Goblia, but her scent disappeared. There was no scent in the forest. The protagonist was surprised by this. Rufun's sense of smell should be pretty well developed. He wondered if it could be because she also had a demon's name. Maybe that's why her sense of smell didn't work? The wolf whined desperately. The protagonist supported her. He said that it was okay that her nose didn't work today. He suggested going back to where they last smelled Goblia. The wolf nodded her head and led the protagonist behind her. Leon held Goblia's head. He squeezed it, causing pain. She screamed loudly because of this. Leon said it was surprising that she didn't feel him. He said that their entire territory was already blocked, thanks to the smoke from the lower realm conductors. Leon squeezed Goblia's head and shouted that if she didn't want her skull crushed, she needed to tell him if she recognized any of the circled faces. He handed her a photo with crests circled around it. He asked again if she recognized anyone in the photo. Goblia was horrified when she saw Albert in the photo. She grabbed the hand that was squeezing her head and tried to break free. He asked what she was doing. The girl tried to scratch his hand so that he would let her go. Leon told her that it was useless. Now she could not harm him. He squeezed her head. Blood spurted. Goblia screamed from terrible torture. He asked her. She did not want to lose her head. Did she? The girl could not stand it anymore. She tried to free herself, but her strength was leaving. Leon threw her to the ground and cursed. The guard came up and asked if the master was okay. He answered positively. He said that she could not do anything to him anyway. He wanted to say something else, but Goblia gathered her last strength and knelt down. She took out the magic potion and drank it. The guard screamed. Where did she hide it? Goblia pounced on her attacker. She wanted to get back at him for all the pain he caused. One of the guards prevented her attack. He hit her with all his might and said that he would not allow her to touch Master Leon. Goblia fell to the ground and clutched her stomach. Blood came out of her mouth. They mocked her, said that a goblin with a potion. What a sight. Leon ordered 2 guards to ask her where the crest was. 2 people bent over the girl and said that they were knights of torture. They made all the creatures in the upper realm obedient and submissive. They said that they thought they could find out where the protagonist was. Goblia cried. She lay there without strength and could no longer resist. Meanwhile, the protagonist and the she-wolf continued their search. The protagonist screamed and called Goblia, but she did not respond to their call. He did not understand what was happening. It was not only Rufuna's sense of smell. He could not believe that he could not use the detection and summoning technique anymore. Searching did not work like with the wolves they defeated this morning. The protagonist noticed that the situation was constantly changing, but he should have been more vigilant. He grabbed his head and cursed. He did not know what he should do. Rufuna came up to him and pressed herself against him. She supported her master. He told her that thanks to this he calmed down. He said that it was at times like these that he needed to remain calm. The she-wolf barked positively. He looked at her closely and said that he saw a light in her eyes. He asked Rufuna what kind of light was coming from her. He used the appraisal skill on the she-wolf and was surprised by what was happening. It was something incredible. Meanwhile, the flowers in the clearing were covered in Goblia's blood. She lay motionless. The guards tortured her for a long time. Leon yelled at the knights. He asked why these idiots were stuck. They apologized and said that she was more stubborn than they thought. Leon told the guards to go find Crest, and he would wait here. They answered positively and went to do their job. An empty potion bottle flew towards Leon. It hit him in the back. He turned around and saw Goblia, who was still alive. Her face was covered in blood. She got up with the last of her strength and rushed to attack. Leon used magic. He hit the girl with it. Her blood splattered in all directions. He screamed that he had enough. He screamed that this goblin and the knights he brought here, the Fox and the Haberst family, and Crest, why can't they all do what he wants? He screamed and asked them to stop annoying him. He shouted at the remaining knights that the next time they tried to deceive him or fail to live up to his expectations, he would kill that fox and all their families. The guards asked the master for forgiveness. Suddenly, a wind arose, which lifted the flower petals into the air. Along with this, Goblia also rose into the air. Leon watched what was happening. A beam of light illuminated the flow of air in which the girl was. Her fatal wounds began to heal. The knights were shocked by what they saw. They said that she was a goblin with incredible healing abilities. Leon told them that they were idiots. It was a skill. Perhaps she gets a lot of life force from the environment? Does this goblin have the herbalist skill? Unlike humans and subhumans, demons should only have skills unique to them. If so, then she has a very rare skill. The guides of the lower world were surprised by this and said that it was impossible. They asked how she could break through the smoke and use the skill. Then each of the guides began to split into pieces one by one. These people were lifted into the air by the force of nature and divided into many parts. Leon and the guards froze in confusion. A she-wolf came out to meet them. Rufuna changed her appearance with magic. The knights asked if it was the wolf that killed them. How did the demon get into this smoke? Leon frowned. This wolf? It can't be. Goblia hung in the air, enveloped in a bubble of light. The knights asked what kind of bubble of light was this. It was a demon evolution technique. The girl woke up. Now she looked different and stronger. One of the guards laughed and said that he did not understand what just happened, but he knew one thing for sure, that he did not torture her enough. Before he could finish speaking, the girl struck him in the head with all her might. She broke his skull with her foot, and then jumped up and tore his head off. The second knight did not have time to understand everything that happened. He looked at the bloody body of his comrade and said that he had just gotten married the other day. He screamed at Goblia. He asked how she could do this to him. He said that now she could not hurt him anymore. The girl, using the power of nature, struck him. She broke through the inner defense of the knight. Blood splashed on the armor. He fell. She killed him. Leon snorted in displeasure. She allowed the blow to penetrate inside, and it ruined his armor. Goblia was about to leave, when suddenly she heard her name being called. She turned and ran towards Crest. He finally found her. Friends hugged. He said that it was good that she was okay. The surrounding plants were medicinal herbs. In the system window, a designation of herbs used by lower world guides appeared. These were advanced expeditionary incense. It's good that the protagonist could assess them, so it was the smoke that deprived Rufin of his sense of smell. He was able to break through the smoke thanks to the wolf's unique olfactory skills that he gained through evolution. So what was the reason why his summoning and detection technique didn't work? A voice was heard greeting Crest. The protagonist turned around and saw one of his brothers. Leon, the protagonist, addressed him. He asked his brother if he came to bring him back up like Albert. Leon said he thought he heard their father say that MC was in league with the goblins. The protagonist said that if that was the case, then Leon knew he wasn't coming back. The protagonist said that at first he thought of letting his brother go home safe and sound, but then he clenched his fists and said that he had something to tell him. The protagonist said that they had bullied Goblia enough, so his brother could not hope to return to the upper world unharmed. Leon laughed loudly. He unbuttoned his shirt and revealed that he had a huge magic stone inside. The protagonist was shocked by this. Leon said that he had such a brotherly spirit that he had no desire to do anything for the idiots above. He said that he came here to kill the protagonist. Leon smiled evilly, looking at his brother. The protagonist and his friends did not know what to prepare for. Crest thought when he saw the magic stone that he knew it was sabotaging his skills. He asked his brother about where he got this stone. He thought that the stone was difficult to find in the upper world. Leon said that the protagonist's old maid, Marunas, created it for him. The protagonist did not expect this. He remembered Marunas. He thought that the subhuman fox was hiding her true identity from everyone but him. The protagonist's brother asked what happened. Was he shocked that his own maid was taken away from him? The protagonist was only a little disappointed and thought that now was not the time to sort things out with his maid. He thought about how Leon managed to maintain his ego after the stone assimilated into his body. He wondered if his brother had gone crazy like those wolves in the morning. Crest decided to see what he could find out from Leon. He said that foxes really can make magical artifacts, but he heard that they have some side effects. Leon laughed and asked the protagonist if he was offended that his maid was taken away from him. He smiled nastily and said that MC is the only one in the upper world who is so incompetent that he trusts subhumans. He said they first gave her to sinners and slaves and then got rid of her. He had to resort to trickery to throw Crest off balance. Then he said he hated swallowing what she left behind. Leon fell down sharply and said that it was all thanks to the protagonist. The protagonist just looked at him in surprise. Leon got up and suddenly delivered a strong blow, but despite this, MC remained standing. He told the protagonist to look at this. All this speed and power, it was all for revenge on him. Leon swung and shouted that the humiliation he experienced in the upper world would be nothing compared to the humiliation he had prepared for his brother. He delivered a strong blow, but the protagonist managed to defend himself. Leon, with a crazy face, shouted that he was preparing to attack. And after this phrase, he delivered a series of fast and strong blows. The protagonist managed to fight off only a couple of blows, then he fell. Leon grabbed him and threw him aside. The protagonist turned around in the air and jumped on him to deliver a counter blow. He laughed, looking into MC's face. Leon took the blow and realized that the protagonist had strengthened his skills during this time. He quickly struck back. But suddenly Crest spoke to him. He said that he did not know the true power of these stones. The protagonist said that skills are the power given by the Almighty God, but the demon stone is nothing more than a miracle created by humans and subhumans. Leon laughed and said that his brother always lectures him when he realizes that he cannot win. He told him, if it is not true, let him prove his divine power. The protagonist said that if he insists, he will show him the power. Crest delivered a powerful blow. Smoke came out from Leon's cheek. The protagonist looked at his brother and delivered a series of blows to his body. He said that he used a skill that increases physical indicators, and that this is his most common skill among all. The force of the blow was so great that Leon was smoking all over. He laughed and only asked his brother to use something stronger. He said that it does not work at all. He laughed again and asked, "What is the power of God?" He raised his hands above his head and shouted that it was his turn now. He attacked the protagonist with a wind cutter. MC, despite the power of the attack, was able to reflect it with his slanting attack skill. This cut the enemy's wind cutter. Leon looked in surprise at the enemy's attack flying at him. He had no choice but to defend himself. After the attack, Leon's clothes were torn, and he himself was injured. Crest looked at his brother and asked if he remembered the last time he challenged him to a duel. He talked about revenge that day. Leon's face changed from surprise to anger. He asked the protagonist, so he didn't forget it? He screamed in rage that MC must be joking. He asked that Crest thinks that the whole range of humiliations is connected only with that day. The protagonist silently looked at Leon. He told him that the protagonist was always like this. He looked down on him. He screamed that his younger brother stole everything from him. Leon snorted that he would never forgive him. He would execute him right here and now. He formed a ball in his hand, which turned out to be a tornado. A second later, it was flying towards the protagonist. MC thought about the fact that he didn't think his brother could create such a powerful wind magic, as he thought the effect of the magic stone is terrifying. But with the increase in mass and rotation speed, the thrust of this is low, so it will be easier to dodge. But when MC was about to bypass the attack, he was stopped by a knight. He did not expect to see that he was grabbed by a headless guard. Leon himself, not understanding what happened, laughed and asked the knight to continue in the same spirit. But when the attack was about to cause damage, Rufuna and Goblia came to the rescue. The she-wolf pushed the protagonist away from the blow, and the girl tore out the knight's heart and destroyed it. Crest thanked them both. He said that they were both great. They were glad that they could help. So the knights also had magic stones. Only after the destruction of the insides did he stop moving, so while the heart is intact, the magic stone can control it. Leon cursed. He lowered his head and knelt down. The protagonist asked him if he now understood what he warned him about. Crest came closer and said that the headless corpse helped him, but the magic stone he swallowed is a dangerous thing. Leon looked at it in his body with disgust. The protagonist asked his brother to return to the upper world while he still had his mind. He said that he could not help him, but the fox could. Leon shouted at MC to shut up. He took out other magic stones from his pocket. Crest looked at his brother excitedly. It turns out he had a lot of stones. Leon shouted that he could not lose any more, and put the stones in his mouth. The protagonist shouted at him that he was an idiot and ordered him to spit it out. Leon did not listen and swallowed it. The protagonist thought what an ominous and frightening feeling it was. Leon screamed through the pain that he felt like magic power was boiling inside him. And a second later, blood began to flow from his head and ears. He fell to the ground. Crest looked at him puzzled and asked, his body could no longer withstand the magic stone? It was a terrible sight. The protagonist slowly approached Leon and said that at this speed, he could go out of control. He said that they needed to stop his heart quickly. The protagonist looked sadly at Leon and asked, hatred can bring a person to such a state, right? He used the water sword style and said goodbye to his older brother. But before the protagonist could strike, he saw a bright flash and realized that his arm was torn off. His eyes filled with fear for a second. He dropped the sword. Rufuna and Goblia were very surprised and scared. MC flew away from Leon. He rose up and roared. He turned into a monster that no longer looked like a human. His muscles grew, wings appeared, and horns grew. Leon screamed shrilly. Goblia and Rufuna were trying to tell the protagonist something. Crest was looking at them and thinking that he couldn't hear anything right now. The protagonist saw his friends sitting above him and Leon standing behind him. He thought that if the monster attacked them now, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Memories from the past. Little Leon was sitting on his mother's lap. She was telling him that in a while he would have a little brother or sister. His mother was telling him that he would be a good friend to the baby. Leon happily agreed with this. He told his mother that he loved her. Then a sharp gust of wind, and Leon was standing alone. His mother was gone. He was calling her loudly. In the present, the monster was screaming, calling his mother and crying. His scream could be heard throughout the forest. Now he was calling Crest. His friends had dragged him into a cave at a safe distance. They had given him a magic potion, but it hadn't worked. Goblia was crying. Rufuna was licking the protagonist's cheek. They wanted him to wake up. They looked at his wound. The damage to his body was serious. His arm was completely torn off. The potion would not cope with it. Goblia began to cry. She touched MC's cheek. He was cold. She cried and did not want to believe that Crest was no longer with them. She screamed and tried to bring him to his senses. The wolf cried silently. Their howls and screams filled the cave. Despair covered the friends. They leaned over the protagonist and cried. When suddenly a system notification was heard about loading an emergency program. Emergency maintenance notice. A serious error has occurred in the physical body of the demonic technique skill owner. Emergency maintenance begins in 5 seconds. The life of an evolving demon or subhuman with a demonic name begins. Rufuna and Goblia sat in front of the screen and did not understand what they should do about it. The countdown started, and a new notification notified that the maintenance will transfer a large amount of life energy to the user, so it is recommended to start it under conditions where life energy is sufficient. In addition, the accuracy of this maintenance will depend on the skill level of the demonic mastery. For details, you must check the log screen after the maintenance is completed. Emergency maintenance begins. The cave was illuminated by a light, the same as when Goblia died. The friends felt a flow of energy coming from them. It turned into a magic ball that used the power of Rufun and Goblia to restore the protagonist. The system notification notified of a second transfusion of lost blood, 50% loading. Then a notification came out about the restoration of the damaged area. The severed arm returned to its place. The program generated a new shoulder. The protagonist's dead pale face became animated again. The emergency maintenance was completed. They were thanked for using the system. The friends shared some of their energy. It was not easy. They cleared their throats and approached the protagonist. His wound had healed. He looked like before. A cloud of light magic illuminated the cave. The friends looked up. They were surprised by this. Crest asked them a question. He asked, were they the ones who saved him, right? He addressed them with tears in his eyes. He thanked them. The partners could not hold back their tears and the joy of reunion. They hugged tightly. The protagonist examined his wound and said that it was amazing. There were no traces. You can't even tell if someone attacked him. He asked what happened to Leon because he was going to finish him off. The friends tried to explain to him. The protagonist said that his brother was clearly cursed. The magic stone blocked the probing technique. As a friend, the world around him floated and he plunged into memories. The protagonist did not understand what was happening. He saw Leon standing at his mother's grave. He was surprised by this and watched him. His brother brought flowers to the grave and said that as soon as Crest disappeared, his older brothers started attacking him. The protagonist wondered, are these Leon's memories? Are they coming straight to his brain because of the magic stone's flash? Leon put the flowers down and told his mother that as soon as the protagonist was born, she died. He said that their family was cursed. MC was sad to hear this. Leon said that the other brothers can't get along, because as long as Crest is alive, misfortune will haunt them. He asked his mother to watch over them in heaven. He snorted that he will avenge the humiliation that his mother suffered from him and get even with him for her death. The memory ended, and the protagonist found himself back in the cave. He realized that the demon stone was blocking his abilities but not Leon. Memories of his other side flooded the protagonist's head without any questions. His friends froze and looked at the protagonist questioningly. He asked them that being alive was already a crime? He said that he had heard it all before. He was tired of it. He turned to his partners, apologized to them, and said that they would have to stay with his idiot brother for a little while longer. He said that the 3 of them would stop him. His friends supported him. Meanwhile, Leon followed their trail and had already reached the cave. He destroyed it and shouted where Crest was. The protagonist answered him that he was here. Leon turned his ugly face to him. His gaze became clouded. He began to see poorly. He rushed about and called the protagonist. The she-wolf used her skills to lure the monster to her side. Leon approached closer and screamed louder and louder. He was already next to Rufuna and was ready to grab her, but the she-wolf used her howling skill on him. She stunned the monster with this. It froze. The protagonist gave the command to Goblia to attack. Rufuna's unique skill is to temporarily enclose the target in a golden bridle. They pounced on Leon together and shouted to him that it was over. They gave a powerful fight to the monster. They dealt him a crushing blow from both sides. Teamwork brought good luck. The protagonist and the goblin knocked all the magic stones out of Leon's body. It turned into dust, blood splashed in different directions. The monster fell. In the night forest, Leon was lying on the ground. His appearance had returned. Now he was a man again. The protagonist and his friends came closer to him. His body was splitting into molecules and dissolved in the air. The protagonist thought that the reaction to the huge flow of magical energy caused the astralization of the body. Even his skills could not stop it. The protagonist turned to Leon. He said that he had already severed all ties with the upper world, and he did not care what would happen to him now. MC added that he was sorry for his mother. He regretted it. Leon was completely out of his mind. There was nothing left of him. He was pale and almost transparent. Hearing the protagonist's words about his mother, Leon's eyes widened, and he saw a silhouette approaching him from somewhere above. It was his mother, flying towards him with her arms outstretched. "Dear mother," Leon addressed her. The protagonist was surprised. Had she come for him? The protagonist's older brother laughed. He said that he had finally waited to meet her. He told his mother that he had met her before anyone else. His last words before he dissolved were that from that moment on he would forever remain with his mother. Leon died. He was gone. Only his ashes hovered in the sky. The protagonist thought for only a few seconds, then turned to his friends and said that it was time for them to go. The upper world, the Habast estate. The servants were cleaning up. The eldest of the maids was handing out tasks. It was necessary to thoroughly clean up. The fox in human form also took part in this. She heard a conversation between two servants. One of them asked if Master Leon had returned home. The second answered that it was terrible, but this family had already lost their second son. The fox, hearing this, froze in place. The magic collar that Leon had put on her neck to enslave her fell. She picked it up and realized that she was now free. The servant saw that the girl was frozen in one position and asked if something was wrong. The fox answered in the negative. She said that she had non-combustible garbage here. She would go and throw it away. The servant told her to deal with it herself. The girl went outside. The magic collar turned to dust. She said that as planned, Leon died in the lower world. She changed her human form and turned into a fox. Now she did not need to hide it. She joyfully shouted for Master Crest to wait for her. She was going to him. After defeating the monster, the protagonist, Rufuna and Goblia were resting in a clearing. The protagonist lay down to rest, looked at the sky, and thought about Gacha. The friends returned to the village. Orpheus turned to the protagonist and asked what he meant about Gacha. He asked, "He went to the village of the slime tribe, right?" The protagonist answered negatively. He said that it was still in the process. A voice was heard from behind. MC turned around and saw Livia. He asked her what happened. She answered that everything was terrible, and she wanted to be useful to him. The protagonist asked Orpheus, did he say anything to Livia? He answered that he did. However, apparently she wanted the protagonist to tell her personally. The protagonist apologized to the girl. He said that he was in a hurry. Livia made an offended look and said that she did not know anything. The protagonist was surprised by this. The girl asked him what happened. He laughed and said that he had never seen her angry before. This was something new. He caught her off guard with these words. She told him that he couldn't flatter her like that. She wouldn't listen to him. The protagonist tried to justify himself because he wasn't flattering. Livia looked at Goblia. She asked how this happened. Was it her imagination or did Goblia change? The protagonist answered positively. He said that it was because of evolution. Livia congratulated them on this. She asked what kind of outfit was this. MC said that he made this outfit using a tailoring technique. He tried to make it based on an outfit from a book he read in the night school library. He said that he seemed to have done well. Livia agreed with this. Then she added that she didn't mean the outfit. She said that Goblia had matured as a girl and looked at the shape of her body. Crest said that maybe she should have grown a little taller. Goblia started jumping to be taller. The protagonist laughed and said that jumping would not make her taller. While jumping, all the changed forms of the girl jumped with her, and this could not help but attract the attention of the guys. Livia saw this, shouted that Crest was an idiot, got offended, and ran away. He didn't have time to stop her. Orpheus asked what they should do now. Does he want to mess around without Livia? The protagonist answered negatively. He said that he would wait. She was probably just joking. The werewolf agreed with this. He asked the protagonist, so what happened in the slime village? MC said that when they came to the village, Sufi accepted them. He told her about vampires and wolves. He told her that 3 wolves came to the village in the morning. They had magic stones. He told the inhabitants of the slime village that Orpheus, who came with him last time, is the brother of the werewolf king Veld. The inhabitants were surprised by this. The protagonist said that last year Orpheus was offered a magic stone by a vampire, but he refused. Then his brother made a deal with them. Crest said that vampires can make magic tools, as well as magic stones. He told Sufi that in the future, it will be very difficult for them to solve the problem, if they are going to operate only on their own. She said that she understood what he was talking about. But this would put them on par with the battle wolves. If they did that, they would not be able to face their dead comrades. The Slime Queen said that she could not make an alliance with them. Crest thought that he would be able to persuade Sufi this time, but alas. He stood up and said that he accepted her refusal. He said that he understood that she was worried about her fellow tribesmen. But he would be here if she needed anything. They would cope with everything together. The friends left. The Slime Queen was left alone with her thoughts. The protagonist finished his story. He told Orpheus that they did not enter into an alliance, but the villagers felt threatened, and it was worth it. The werewolf said that he was sorry. The protagonist asked why he was apologizing. Orpheus looked down and said that before, the inhabitants of this forest treated people who came from the upper world with only some apprehension, and there were almost no conflicts between the creatures. They, the wolves, violated the local order. The protagonist noticed that he was nervous. He said that Orpheus was taking on too much. All he needed to think about was how to stop his older brother's outbursts of anger. MC promised to be a link between them. The werewolf wanted to say something to the protagonist. But Crest interrupted him. He said that Orpheus thinks about everything that surrounds him. And he knew that he was the one who deserved to be the king of the wolves. Orpheus did not expect to hear this. Suddenly, Livia came to the guys in the clearing. The main character said that they were waiting for her. The girl asked why Crest did not go after her. The friends were so carried away by the conversation that they did not notice at all that some werewolf was following them. The guy who was following them saw how Orpheus's aura was glowing. He returned to his comrades and said that Master Orpheus used to be different. The second werewolf cursed. He said that he knew that they would not be able to defeat his brother. The third werewolf stood up and said that he had decided everything. Kiba, the second guy, addressed him. He said that if they returned to the village to the king now, he was sure that the wolves would kill them. Kiba said that it was much better than sitting here. He did not want to see Orpheus in this state anymore. Refield house, upper world. The servant entered the room where Alice was taking a bath. She apologized to her and said that the head of the house was asking for her. Alice replied that she understood her. She came out of the bathroom and started getting ready for the appointment. The girl entered the office where they were already waiting for her. The man told her that he heard that she had successfully dealt with the demons. The girl replied that she was being forced everywhere. She was working so hard on all the problems of their country. He said that he had 2 pieces of news for her. The first was about the Heverst family. Leon, who had been sent to the Netherworld, had not returned yet. The Netherworld guides had found him and found the body of his knight, but Leon himself was nowhere to be found. Alice remembered who they were talking about, the one who had lost the battle to MC. She remembered how she had warned Leon in advance that Crest would act more cunningly, and told him to beat him half to death. And yet, it was she who had ordered the protagonist to do so, telling him that his brother would surely win. She thought it was a masterpiece, that all the hatred had gone to Crest. Her father distracted her from her thoughts. He said that there were rumors of unrest in the Micilian family. In this regard, Minu Micilian may be part of the search party. Alice cried out in surprise. The man said that the king had changed his attitude and preferred defense in the face of demon attacks. Therefore, it was important for them to build at least some semblance of a relationship with Minu. He suggested that they had not sent her without thought. They wanted to ensure success by sending Minu because she was friends with Crest. Alice said that in that case, she would immediately go down. Her father replied, in the negative. The girls screamed that if something happened to them, then their situation. She did not have time to finish. The man interrupted her. He said that she should think carefully about the situation. She should not let rumors prevent them from serving their country. Alice thought about it. She did not like Minu at all. She was approaching Crest without her. She remembered her words. Minu once said that Alice did not know anything about the main character. She froze and remembered something else. Minu told her that the only thing the protagonist wanted was freedom. Then she added that if she went down there, she might never come back up. The girl said these words to Alice when they were taking a bath. She reported this memory to her father. Minu might not be thinking about returning Crest. The man asked what she was talking about. Alice replied that Minu was not attached to her aristocratic position, and if MC said that he would stay down there, then most likely she would stay with him. The father asked how she could say that. The girl said that Minu herself told her so. The man was indignant. Then maybe it would be worth preventing her from being sent to the lower world. Alice said that she would, but she again did not finish her sentence. Her father shouted at her that he had enough. He told her that he would not allow her to go down there. With that, he ended the conversation and ordered her to return to her room. Alice returned to the room. She screamed that her father was an idiot. She cried and tore her pillow in anger. She said that she wanted to see crest, night, silence, forest. Sufi looked at the full moon. She looked at herself, at her human shell, and remembered her past. Once she was friends with people, but now all people are liars to her. Master Sufi, the guardian of the slime village, addressed her. He said that the army of battle wolves is already on the way. She replied that she knew they would come. The Wolf King rushed to the slime village, riding a bear. The goblin scout reported information about the upcoming attack. The protagonist said that it means it's true. First they will decide to capture the slime village. He shouted that they are on their way. MC said that Livia should take care of the village's defense, just in case. The girl replied that she also wants to go with them. She wants to be useful to Mr. Crest. The protagonist took Livia by the shoulders and said that she should understand him. When she is in the village, he can safely use his power. She is the only one who can do this. Livia was beside herself with happiness. She silently turned around and walked away. And she thought that waiting for her master to return from the battlefield is so feminine. Her eyes shone with a loving look. She turned to the protagonist and said that she understood the request. She said that she wishes him double luck. The friends thanked her. They were ready to go, when suddenly something hit the protagonist's shoulder. He rubbed his shoulder and wondered what it was. One of the goblins asked MC if something happened. He answered negatively. Something flew into the protagonist's shoulder again. Suddenly one of the werewolves shouted to the team that they were in trouble. Orpheus picked up a note that said that they realized that they could not be here. The werewolf got angry and said that 3 of his guys had deserted a village of the wolf tribe in the north. 3 escaped werewolves came to ask the king to accept them. They were beaten and forced to their knees, face down. The king asked, did they come to him and want to join his clan? They answered positively. The king's advisors shouted at the 3 to stop pretending to be fools. Their boss would never allow such a thing. Kiba, he addressed one of the werewolves. Raise your head. The werewolf raised himself. Veld asked a question. The other day, one of their wolves went to their village and did not return. Had he heard anything about this? The guy understood who they were talking about. And he remembered the words of the protagonist, that they got rid of the northerners who arrived. Kiba answered, he thinks that their new human leader did it. The wolves were outraged by this. What human leader? They said not to fool them with this lie. The king said that he had heard rumors that a very powerful man had appeared in the lower dimension, but he never thought that his brother would be with him. The king smiled evilly and said that when a noble wolf bows down to a mortal, it is no wonder that his people are tired of him. He came down from his throne and said that they will accept the 3 of them into their home. But they cannot let them in for free without any proof. The werewolf girl brought a tray with a knife on it. Veld said that it would be fair if they showed sincerity, right? He threw the knife to them and shouted that he wanted to see what they were willing to do for a place. The boys looked at each other. They were scared. Kiba took the knife in his hands and prepared to cut off his finger. He said that he was ready for this from the beginning. The Wolf King's advisor asked, is the boss really sure about this? Is there something wrong here? The king asked, what is he talking about? The wolf said that these 3 were up to something, weren't they? You can't just come and join their team. Veld asked what could be wrong, or did he think that his gang wasn't worthy of anyone wanting to join? The other wolves hissed at the guy. Maybe he didn't like their rules either? They said that they could put him in his place quickly. And if necessary, they could give him a preventative prison sentence. The advisor cursed, thinking that he needed to change the subject. Boss, he asked the king, are you going to use your sword this time? The other wolves tried to calm the chatty advisor down, but he wouldn't shut up. He said that it would be great to use it to deal with the slime. Veld couldn't stand his chatter and hit the wolf with all his might. He flew out the window, far beyond the house. The king said that he finally had peace and quiet. The other wolves thought that this advisor was a fool. It was against the law to talk about swords. After all, this sword was the only thing that Lord Verdine could get. Although he was always looking for power. They approached the advisor's body. He was dead. They turned to the boss. It was time for them to leave. The king told them to start swallowing the magic stones. They swallowed it and began to transform. Veld looked up, thought about how beautiful the moon was, and gave his guys the order to go ahead. They began the raid. Meanwhile, the goblin and werewolf team almost reached the slime village. Orpheus told them to get ready. The team responded positively. The werewolves whispered among themselves. They were surprised by the courage and composure of their boss. Even though Kiba and the others retreated, he was still determined. The protagonist felt a little sad at these words. Orpheus was lost in his thoughts. He remembered the times when they were learning the art of combat. He remembered how his brother won a sparring match. Their father shouted that it was the end, a victory by a large margin. Orpheus got it hard then. His brother did not spare him. Father felt uneasy at such moments. He sighed sadly. Their father brought 3 guys to the next training. Orpheus asked who they were. Kai, Kiba and Ro were introduced by their father. He said that he would be training them. Kiba extended his hand to Orpheus and said that it was nice to meet him. He hit Kiba on the hand and told him not to get carried away. He asked if Kiba knew who he was. Orpheus's father was upset, and Kai and Ro were puzzled, but Kiba's face remained friendly. Kiba beat Orpheus and said that he knew who he was. He was the weakest of them all. Father said that Orpheus should handle the 3 of them before the next full moon. If he could not handle them, he would disown him. He turned to his father and asked how he would defeat 3 people alone. He stood up and looked in surprise at Kiba, Ro and Kai, who said they would look after him. Kiba said that they didn't have much time. He asked what they were going to do. Orpheus got angry. He told Kiba not to take on too much. He shouted that he would beat the 3 of them to death. Orpheus trained in attack against the 3 of them. Kai went out to spar first. He won the fight almost immediately. Orpheus fell. After a while, Ro came up with a barrel of water and poured it on his face. Orpheus got up and went to eat. He ate with a happy face, and Kiba watched him. When they trained and it was almost evening, they went to bed. The next morning, Orpheus fought Kiba with swords. Some time passed. The guys trained a gak from Orpheus's blow. He looked at his hands in surprise. He did not expect that he would ever be able to defeat them. Kiba said that Master Orpheus is getting stronger. He exclaimed happily. He finally learned. Orpheus returned from his memories of these guys. He was sad to remember their devoted friendship. Friends tried to support Kiba. Kai asked to wait for him while Ro worked on the potion. He made it and said that it looks like his finger will not grow back soon. Kai said that if they try to get inside, they will quickly be discovered. Kiba clenched his fists and said that they will have to act with these forces. He said that they must try. Kiba said that he is ready to give his life for Orpheus, even if it is just a finger or 2. Ro and Kai smiled at him. They were of the same opinion. Kiba said that nevertheless, so far everything is going according to plan. Ro answered positively. Kiba said that the first thing they need to do is get into the cell. He said that today most of the guys are free, so the security is low. He said that the main reason they came for is the sword that Orpheus was supposed to have. Ro said that it was time to get to work. Kai laughed and said that it was time to use his hacking skills. Kiba said that with this sword, Orpheus will surely be reborn, and they will atone for their master's guilt before him. Ro and Kai agreed with him. The Wolf King came to the slime village. Sufi met him. She knew that this would happen someday. Veld said that he did not tell Sufi about the date of his visit, but the entire slime clan is here to greet him. He sarcastically asked the slime queen. She could not resist and came out to him to see her master. The girl answered negatively. She said that wolves are the most fickle creatures on the night of the full moon, so they knew that they would attack today. Sufi noticed that something was wrong with his subordinates. It was clearly not the effect of the full moon. The girl realized that the magic stones were real. It existed. She asked the wolves to come back. She said that her villagers would not be their slaves. Veld said that everything was clear to him. He said that nothing could be done about it. He said with a terrible expression on his face that he would exterminate them all, every single one. Sufi with her army stood in front of Veld and his army of wolves. She started the transformation of her body. She shouted that this village would be free. She changed her appearance. The slime helped to do this. She sent the villagers up to the crowns of the trees to a safe place. The wolves did not understand what was going on and asked each other about it. They asked why the slimes left, leaving their leader alone on the battlefield. The wolves noticed that there was a swamp behind the girl. The werewolf shouted that most likely, if trouble came, she would run into the swamp. The other wolf said that they would not allow this. The wolf rushed to attack. He hit the girl in the stomach with all his might, but the wolf's fist passed through her. His hand was covered in slime, which burned his hand. The wolf shouted and said that his hand was melting. He shouted that it was acid. The werewolves assumed that it was entirely made of acid. They thought about where they could have gone wrong. While they were thinking about this, other slimes were looking down on them. Within a second, acid slimes started falling on the army of werewolves. The wolves were scared by this. They began to talk among themselves and ask what they were doing. One of the wolves said not to panic because they had magic stones. Sufi attacked them with a powerful stream of slime. It pierced 3 wolves at once. Blood spurted in all directions. It destroyed the magic stones. The wolves fell dead. She raised an angry look at the other werewolves. One of the wolves asked what kind of power this was. Another said that he did not believe that she defeated them so easily. The Queen of Slimes shouted that together they would cope with them. She ordered them to digest these werewolves. The wolves began to be afraid of her. They asked each other what to do now. They did not believe that everything around them was acidic. Veld thought that the slimes knew that they had magic stones. It meant that they were warned. The wolf thought, he did not know if these slimes were acidic. After all, it should only be in those places where strong acid constantly erupts. If so, it must be a skill. Then, why did so many slimes have the same thing? He looked at Sufi and noticed that she was drawing energy from the swamp and transmitting it through herself into the tree. The girl said that the werewolves retreated while they could. They didn't have a chance anymore. Veld put on a horrible smile, then swung his arm and hit the tree. Sufi was horrified. It fell along with the slimes that were sitting on top. The remaining tree root was seething with her energy. Veld said that she used her skills to purify the acid, pumping water out of the swamp. Then she sent the acid through a tube from her feet to the slimes in the trees. He asked, did she think she could trick him? All he needed was to break the chain. The Wolf King said that she was smart for a slime, but that wouldn't help her. But the girl cursed. Veld asked, is that all she has? Where is the backup plan? Suddenly one of the slimes appeared behind him. It took the form of a boy and climbed down from the tree. The boy armed himself with a knife and shouted at the wolf to get ready to kill this killer of his friends. Sufi shouted at him to stop. A swing of the sword, drops of blood, the werewolf killed the boy. The girl screamed at the top of her voice. She could not hold back her tears. The wolf said, did this guy really think that he remembered everyone he killed? He said that it was starting to piss him off, but he was glad that he did not have to play with them anymore. It was time for the slaughter. He shouted at his boys to slaughter them all. The wolves growled and rushed to attack. The inhabitants of the slime village were scared by this and ran away. Sufi asked him to stop. She said that she would do everything he said, just do not kill them. He shouted that it was too late. He said that it was her own fault. Now let her watch her friends die because of her stupid pride. He was like a monster. He screamed for them all to be killed. Every single one. Sufi fell to the ground. She was crying and couldn't do anything about it. Footsteps were heard behind the werewolves. One of them turned around and asked who was there. The protagonist used his skill and attacked several wolves at once. Their bodies flew into the air from a powerful blow. He killed them and destroyed the magic stones. Veld and Sufi didn't expect to see him here. The protagonist said that it was in the spirit of werewolves to have a full moon on their side, but relying on a magic stone, isn't that too much against the rules? The girl was crying. She didn't know why the protagonist came to help her. The wolf got angry. He asked where this idiot came from. The protagonist said that he came because he was her friend. Earlier in the forest, Orpheus and his brother were sitting together. His brother asked how his scars were after the fight. Orpheus confidently replied that everything was fine, and that he was completely confident in his recovery. But as expected, he knew it. Veld is the strongest. He also mentioned that he heard about a new trainer for Kiva and the others. Orpheus countered that he was not a trainer, but simply providing them with friendly assistance. A father would not train children their age, so it was not like that. His brother suggested that Orpheus could replace their father. Perhaps he was better suited for this role than Verd himself. He also added that everyone in the village was talking about Orpheus being the strongest and becoming the next chief. Orpheus asked what the joke was about, but his brother only asked what strength was. Orpheus did not understand the question, and Verd suggested that he continue training the children. Orpheus then furiously replied that he was not a trainer, only a friend. Meanwhile, the protagonist stood in front of the werewolf boss. The boss asked if this was a joke. The protagonist replied that he was there to help Sufi because she was her friend. A goblin addressed the protagonist, saying that they were also ready and waiting for his order. The protagonist, understanding their mood, said, "Advance." The werewolf boss ordered them not to move and thrust his sword straight into Sufi's chest. He demanded that they leave or his friend's core would be cut in half. Verd added that everyone was talking about the protagonist's strength, and he felt that he would be a worthy opponent. If MC continued to interfere, he would end up the same way as them. The protagonist then used his increased agility, which had reached level 5, ran up to Sufi and picked her up. He shouted for their troops to slow down the boss and ordered the goblins to protect the slime tribe. The boss asked what the hell he was doing, but the protagonist replied that he was just using his skills and, by the way, he had not swallowed the magic stone like them. With that, he ran away, holding the girl in his arms. When they had gotten some distance, he asked her, "How is it?" She asked him to put her down. He apologized and put her down, then asked if she was okay and where the blade had hit. She replied that everything was fine and that she was in his debt again. The protagonist asked why she didn't let them handle it. She replied that she had already given in to the persuasion of his people once and could no longer interfere as a chieftain. She then asked him to help their village. At that time, one of the squad members was injured and a goblin ran up to him. He asked him how he was feeling and said that he would now use a potion. At the same time, Two werewolves crossed swords, and one of them called the other a pathetic traitor. In response, the second werewolf ordered him to shut up and added that he only heard such words from a traitor. The boss stood there, thinking about how things had turned out this way. Then the protagonist returned and Verd addressed him. He offered him a duel, adding that if he won, he would take this village and him too. If the protagonist won, he could do whatever he wanted with them. He then asked if these were not worthy conditions. MC replied that he did not mind, but he was not the one he should fight. Orpheus stood behind the boss. Verd turned to him and said that now was the perfect time to end his shameful life. He should be grateful for the kindness shown to him. Orpheus replied that he was the one living in shame. He could not allow someone to live who would bring even more shame to their clan. Verd laughed and turned to the protagonist, saying that even if Orpheus lost the duel, the conditions would not change. Was he sure about that? The protagonist replied that he was fine with it. Sufi was furious and told MC that she thought he would fight him. He replied that he did not say whether he would do that. She added that the future of her tribe was at stake, and if this wolf lost, they would be finished. The protagonist asked her to calm down and assured her that everything would be fine. Meanwhile, they shouted to stop the fight and the time for the duel. The lights were lit. Orpheus and Verd stood opposite each other with a sword in their hands. Then Orpheus shouted forward and he ran to attack. He thought that a half-serious attack would not hurt him, especially because of the magic stones. Then he used the fire sword style. He thrust his sword forward. Verd stood in disbelief and thought that it was very fast, but he managed to dodge. He said that he could see that Orpheus had learned to fight and added that it would be a little more fun. Orpheus replied that Crest had taught him. Today he was here to slay him. Their swords crossed, and they looked at each other. Then the boss replied that it pained him to see him trying to show himself to be more skilled than he really was. Someone from the crowd shouted forward, "Chieftain, he is stronger than him. He will end." To which the boss ordered him to shut up. Orpheus added that he would not allow him to mock his father and Crest any longer. He swears on his name that his reign will end. And so Orpheus knocks the sword out of the boss's hands. They shout at him, "Well done, keep it up, Master Orpheus." The boss's squad is in a tizzy. "Damn, Master Verd." He sits on his knees and Orpheus tells him that it is all over. To this he only laughs and asks permission to tell him something. His name is Verd. Orpheus is confused, and the boss uses a magic boost. Orpheus did not expect such a turn of events and did not notice how the boss moved. Meanwhile, Livia, Goblia and Rufuna are sitting outside the house and talking. Goblia suggests that Livia take a rest and let them take care of her. Livia thanks them for their concern, but says that she is fine. After all, Mr. Crest is currently fighting, and she wants to be there, even if only in her mind. She acts like his wife. Goblin, hearing this, laughed. Livia remembers what MC said before leaving. Each of them remains on guard. And how he patted Orpheus on the shoulder, telling him not to worry because he will make a great fighter. She wished them a good journey. Meanwhile, the boss made another attack. Orpheus was confused and asked, "How is that?" Verd stood there pointing his finger and laughing. Orpheus sat on his knees with his head up and said that this was no ordinary power-up. And not just because of the magic stone, to which the boss happily replied that he was right because he also had a magic name. Orpheus was confused and asked, "What is he saying?" The protagonist thought that he also had a magic name. Verd stood there happily and said that he felt very good, as if he had been reborn. Then he turned to Orpheus, saying that he also knew these feelings. When MC gave him a name, right? He then added that now with the magic stones, the name, and his talent, he wanted to see how long he could last. And so the boss attacked again, throwing a punch. Orpheus flew to the side and the boss walked up to him, watching him lying on the ground. At that moment, Orpheus remembered the recent events when he fought as a child. He remembered his father standing with his arms folded, asking what had happened to Vale. He had never seen him like this. It was as if Vale had become different. Then, as now, Orpheus was lying on the ground, and Verd stood above him, looking down. He was begging for mercy and pleading for him to stop. But at that moment, his father came up and hit Verd. He said that Val had received this power from the outside and there was no other way to explain it. If you listen to reason, Vale will be punished accordingly. Orpheus then said, "Just a brother." That day, his brother was exiled to an island and lost everything. When his punishment was over, he regretted his past actions and vowed to work hard for the development of the family. But still, why did he do it? Then Orpheus knelt down and asked his brother, why did he choose this wrong path? To which the boss laughed and asked, "Wrong path? What is he even talking about?" He then added that he was exiled by his own people. He stood there joyfully, holding the severed finger in his hand, and asked, "And this?" He added that in the end, his connection was nothing more than a dummy. Verd approached him and said that his well-deserved end had finally come. He also gave them new slaves. The boss took the sword in his hand, shouted that he would kill him, and the entire territory would be his, and began the attack. But out of nowhere, someone shouted at him to wait. It was Kiva. He was standing and holding a sword in his hands. The boss's servants looked at him furiously and shouted that this sword belonged to the boss. Verd himself said that he was a fool. Orpheus was surprised and asked, "Is this him? And where is Ro?" To which he replied that they were bait to confuse the pursuers. Then he closed his eyes and extended his hands with the sword in front of him and added that only Master Orpheus, who was chosen by the leader, could pull out this sword. Then he threw the sword and said, "For their entire tribe, take this." Orpheus reached forward and caught the sword, and then his father's message appeared before him. He was confused and asked, "Father?" And then his father spoke, saying that if his ghost was in front of him now, it meant that he was no longer alive. He asked everyone to listen to him carefully. Orpheus's father began to tell the story of how wolves used to use their physical strength to maintain order in this forest. However, over time, they became hardened and the other races began to fear them. Until his father's time, this was normal, but now the enemies from the upper world were a threat to the lower world. The wolves must change their old ways and unite with the other peoples. He turned to Orpheus, calling him the pillar of his race, and urged him to lead the inhabitants of the forest with kindness and courage. Then he said that if Vale was here, then here are his words. Unworthy strength deceives the soul. True strength is born in understanding each other and in a common path. From now on, they must work together to protect their people and their lands. Father said goodbye and disappeared, leaving all the wolves upset. They began to cry. Orpheus thanked his father and added that he hoped so too. The boss, on the contrary, was furious and said that he could not do anything about this stupidity. He thought that the sword had great power, but he did not even imagine that it was just a collection of old men's moralizing. He took the sword in his hands and threw it at Kiba, shouting that he couldn't take it anymore. The sword pierced Kiba's chest, causing blood to come out of his mouth. The last thing he said was, "Master Orpheus will win." After that, he fell to the ground and died. Orpheus, furiously, shedding a tear, shouted, "No." The protagonist turned to the goblin to quickly bring the potion. Sufi stood there crying and said that it was over and they were finished. The boss approached Orpheus, who was kneeling and crying. Orpheus said that he would never forgive him for this. The boss replied that he had deceived him, so he deserved to die. Orpheus then added that he would never forgive himself for having even the slightest doubt about this. The protagonist was at a loss. Orpheus stood up, clenched his fists, and a notification came to the protagonist that Orpheus was ready to evolve. A system window appeared asking if he wanted to start the evolution. Then the protagonist turned to Orpheus and asked if he could kill him. He added that his brother was terrible, but now is a special case and it is time for him to decide. MC asked him again if he could kill him. Orpheus replied that he could because he killed his father and took his friend's life. He will not give up anymore and will kill him right here and now. The protagonist turned around and ran, shouting that he was waiting for these words. He used the art of demon evolution. Orpheus glowed, and in an instant, his personality changed. He got long hair and seemed to have become more mature. Orpheus told the boss to attack. The boss asked if he was done and began to attack. He added that he did not know what this man did to him, but he was wasting his time. His attack failed, and suddenly Orpheus' hand turned into a werewolf's paw. The boss was confused. Orpheus used the skill Frenzy. The boss thought, "What is this hair?" Orpheus said that he is wasting his time, he is finished. The boss held the sword in his hands and tried another attack, to which Orpheus replied that it is just body hair. He will break him into pieces. Orpheus went on the attack and said that he and his father are the wrath of the werewolf clan. He makes an attack and cuts Verd in two. He falls to the ground and screams in horror that this is impossible. Orpheus stands in confusion, turning his back to him. Suddenly, Verd starts laughing and says that everything is correct. Orpheus turns to him. Verd continues. They all talk about cooperation and existence. Now their clan is finished. The protagonist said that Verd manipulated him and asks, "Did he give him the name of the demon?" The boss turns his head in confusion and asks, "What?" The MC explains that the one who is given the demon's name cannot oppose the Lord for the rest of his days. Even if he fights the wolves, ruling the lower world with his power, the Lord will take it all away. He did not want the lower worlds to unite, so he gave him the demon's name and made him kill his father. The boss realizes that he was being played all this time. He punches the ground and adds that the biggest loser is himself. He then asks the protagonist to stop because he killed his father and his friend Orpheus himself. All the wolves stand in confusion. He also asks the protagonist not to make the king of the wolves look bad. Orpheus walks up to the boss and hugs him. Through tears he says that he hates him, it's true, but he is still his dear brother. He then begins to remember how they sat together, laughing and enjoying life. The boss asks Orpheus to kill him. He calls out to him. Orpheus holds his barely alive brother in his arms. Verd makes one last incomprehensible sound. Orpheus screams, "Brother?" Then Verd dies. Orpheus, shedding a tear, hugs him with all his might. The protagonist and Orpheus make a grave and bury him. Orpheus sits and looks at the grave, while Crest stands behind him and says that perhaps there was a curse on him that did not allow the master's name to be mentioned. Orpheus replies that on the day his brother was imprisoned, his father also said that he had a veiled curse on him, and it would take him years to repay. Orpheus sadly noted that his brother seemed to have returned to normal after fulfilling his duties, but the curse eating away at him from within had only grown stronger. The protagonist guessed that the one who gave him the demon's name was a very sinister person, and sooner or later they would definitely meet on their way. Orpheus confirmed his fears, and the protagonist wondered if he felt depressed. Orpheus said that, next time they would go to the tomb of Kiva and the others. At that moment, someone suddenly shouted, "Mr. Orpheus." He turned around and saw Kiva, Kai, and Lu standing there. Kiva happily waved his hand at him and shouted, "Mr. Orpheus." Kai was holding Lu tightly. Kiva approached Orpheus and happily announced that he had become the king of the wolves. But suddenly, Orpheus punched him right in the face. The protagonist was at a loss. Kiva fell to the ground, holding his cheek and shouting that it hurt. Orpheus explained to him that if he could hit him, then Kiva was not a ghost. The protagonist began to tell how Kiva was saved by a quick cure with a potion. They sent a reconnaissance team to keep an eye on them first. Orpheus asked about the letter that said they would be fine. Kiva explained that he simply wrote where they were going. Orpheus found this confusing, and before he could finish speaking, Kiva asked him a question. What was he thinking? That they were against him just because they didn't communicate. Then Orpheus slapped him in the face again and added that Orpheus the weakling had left. He wouldn't let anyone kill him or let him down, so everyone should shut up and listen to him. The real Wolf King, Orpheus, is him. The three brothers happily exclaimed in unison, "Yes!" The protagonist looked at them and said that they seemed to be fine. Sufi asked the protagonist if she could ask him a question. What was he going to do if things got really bad during the duel? To which he replied that of course he would join them. When everyone's lives were at stake, he didn't care about any rules. Then she turned off the transformation, sat on her knees and said that from now on, she is Sufi and the slime tribe at his service. He replied that his answer was so attractive, he thought that she hated humans innately. She replied that even if they were alone, they would soon be invaded by a more vicious enemy, and their fighting skills and command were trustworthy. But that was not the only reason, and she really liked the taste of his sweat. The protagonist was confused. She continued that when she shook his hand and then he hugged her, she felt that her instincts were craving his fluid. Then she came close to him and added that she hoped that he would treat her to something. To which the protagonist replied that he did not and began to push her away. She added that then she would immediately take a full mouth. MC furiously shouted, "Enough!" At this time, in the kingdom, a maid came to Ellis and wished her good morning. Then she asked if she was sleeping. After all, she had been locked up all day. It was very harmful. She asked her to go outside for some fresh air. Opening the door a little, she apologized. Shocked by what she saw, she shouted, "Master!" To which he replied, "Why make such a noise during a meal?" At this time, Ellis rode off on a horse with two subordinates, and she apologized to her father for being a bad daughter and leaving her responsibilities to chance. But she could not wait any longer. Forward to the MC. Count Riefeld, lost in his thoughts, stood by the window when his attention was drawn to the appearance of Micilian. He asked when this situation would end. The Count replied that he did not immediately understand what he was talking about. Micilian was shocked by his answer and could not believe that Riefeld had decided to do such a thing. The Count explained that he disobeyed the king's order and sent his daughter to look for Crest, who would then solve the problems with the demons in the upper world. That was not his plan, he insisted. Micilian laughed and didn't believe him. Riefeld wondered if the old Ellis would have simply returned Crest. If Crest said he was staying down there, would Mina follow? He didn't know what Mina was planning, but he was sure Ellis would follow her example. The position of the Riefeld house was in jeopardy. He had to buy time until he found Ellis. Turning to Micilian, he said that if his daughter returned with Crest, all the credit would be his. They did not approve of searching in the lower world, considering the girl's selfishness to be their fault. The tunnels between the upper and lower worlds had different exits, making the search difficult. But it did not matter as long as they returned Crest. He would bear all the expenses until Ellis returned home. However, in exchange, he wanted them to keep it a secret. Micilian laughed and shouted that it would be so. He accepted the offer. Then he turned to Mina, asking if she had heard what they had agreed on. Mina was shocked by the shouts, but then replied that she had heard. She had not expected Ellis to get ahead of her, underestimated her and gave too many clues, but she would not be able to lead her astray. Meanwhile, in the lower world, Livia sat outside, immersed in meditation. Suddenly, someone unexpectedly called her and told her the news that Master Crest had returned. She jumped up and ran happily towards him, shouting, "Welcome back, Master Crest." She ran with her eyes closed and asked, "Did you try hard enough?" She had been waiting for him all day. She wanted to offer him something, but when she opened her eyes, she was shocked to see that he had come with a girl who was hitting on him. He was very unhappy and asked her to leave him alone. He then thanked her for being there, but then he saw her unhappy face. He asked if she was okay. She was furious and said he was a playboy. She started crying. He asked if he should take that as a compliment. She then added that that was to be expected from him. Sufi stood there, perplexed. She then said that she was pleased to meet you. Her name was Sufi. She folded her hands and happily added that she was the one who knew what Crest's sweat tasted like. Livia asked what that meant. The protagonist said it sounded disgusting. Sufi explained that exchanging body fluids was a very common form of communication between Slytherins. Livia was confused and thought that she couldn't let them strengthen their relationship. She needed to make a move. After which she said that she wanted to do the same, walked up to the protagonist, stuck out her tongue and licked the sweat off his face. After that she felt sick. The protagonist looked at her and shouted, "Livia?" After some time, they were sitting in the house on the bed. The protagonist asked Livia if she had calmed down. In response, she apologized for not greeting him properly. He explained that he didn't expect such behavior from Sufi. Livia noticed that they had already exchanged fluids, to which the protagonist furiously objected. No, she was just sucking his hand. She grabbed him so tightly that he couldn't do anything. It was a horror that he doesn't even want to remember. Livia happily asked if they had kissed. The protagonist replied, "Of course not." Suddenly, she blushed and asked if he wanted to kiss her. The protagonist was surprised, but he walked up to her and grabbed her shoulders. At that moment, someone shouted that the luggage had been delivered, and he thanked her. Then he let go of Livia and turned around and said that he would be right back. Livia was sad, but the protagonist suddenly walked up to her and kissed her. She was confused. The protagonist started to leave the room, and she sat and watched him go. Her world swam before her eyes, and she shouted, "Mr. Crest." He turned to her and asked, "Is something wrong?" She replied that no, everything was fine. She imagined it. Crest was standing outside by a tree, raising his hand up. They asked him, "Can we live here?" He replied that they could rest assured. They had created a village similar to the one where the slime used to live. They could work with liquids, which would be useful in making potions and such. Then a wolf approached him and asked what they should do. He asked them to follow him. After the death of the leader, he had to take in some of the werewolves, not all of whom were loyal to the previous leader. For now, he decided to place them in the north. He would invite some of them to the village as guests, so that over time they would strengthen their relationships with the villagers. They approached the house, and he said, "Come in." They apologized for intruding. Then he sat on the table, and the wolves knelt in front of him. He began to explain that they should not cause problems for the others, and then everything would be fine. Then he asked them to tell him what happened when they swallowed the magic stone. One of the wolves scratched his head and said that as soon as he put it in his mouth, he immediately passed out. Slowly he started to come to his senses, and his memories became clearer. He feels fine now, but some of them are crazy. He is sure it is because of this thing. MC asked if they had a magic stone with them. They told him that they did and gave him one stone. He reached out his hand to it and used a praise. A system window appeared, which stated, Name, Magic Stone, Composition, Magic, Place of Origin, the Lower World, Storage Method, Keep away from sunlight and store at room temperature, Creator, a vampire. The protagonist was shocked, because this meant that the stone was created by a vampire. Then one of the wolves turned to him and said that he used to deal with trades, and remembered that the next night was scheduled for the full moon. The protagonist put his hand to his chin and said, "That's it, it's time to meet the creator of the stone." When night fell, Vania went outside and headed to one of the villages. She noted that she had not been here for a long time and was pleasantly surprised to see her native place. Stopping, she looked at the village with tenderness and noticed that there was a serene silence all around. But this did not frighten her. Vania felt that she had been sitting too long and was eager to show her strength and skill, but before she could start her business, she was immediately stopped by the protagonist and his friends. He said that this village was now theirs and that he needed to talk to her about the strange magic stone she had created. Vania fell to her knees and bowed, filled with remorse, admitting that she had caused them a lot of trouble. Lying on the ground, She looked at it, stunned by her defeat. Never would she have thought that someone could defeat her. And now this talk about stones. The protagonist clearly has an aversion to the magic stone they had created. In the worst case, this man could kill her right here, all because of a deal with the wolves. Crest asked her name and she replied that her name was Vania. He asked her a question. Is there a way to undo the effects of using the stone? She looked up, not understanding what he was talking about, but then replied that, no, she had warned him in advance about the side effects of absorbing it. One of the wolves turned to the protagonist, saying that this was a matter of life and death, and he had to do something. Vania noticed that he seemed to be thinking, and if everything went according to plan, her clan would prosper. The protagonist then said that he wanted to show her something, and threw a stone on the floor. He asked what she thought of this magic stone. Vania jumped up and asked in disgust, what kind of demonic stone was this? Crest replied that this magic stone was created by a fox he had met in the past. Vania asked, a fox? The protagonist added that someone had come down to them the other day and swallowed a lot of these stones, after which he went crazy. Orpheus called MC and asked when this happened, but Livia added that she had never heard of it. The protagonist replied that they had no time to discuss it. If the magic stone and the body become one, then he can do incredible things, and this is possible even without a head. Vania asked what happened to those who swallowed the stone. The protagonist replied that he defeated them, and he had no other choice. The vampire thought that if he could defeat the power of the stone, it was no wonder that she lost. Then she decided that he would be able to handle her offer. She told him that she had a request. The protagonist stood there in bewilderment and listened to her. She added that she needed him to save her people, who were captured by ogres. The ogre tribe living in the valley in the north has been attacking and enslaving other tribes one by one. Livia said in surprise that she had heard rumors about them. They were quite dangerous because of their size, strength, and power. The vampire noticed that in addition to vampires, golems and dryads were held captive in their lair. With their help, she managed to escape today, and she was going to help them get out too. Then she shouted that if he helped them, he would be able to use her magical tools at his own discretion, and once again asked for help for her people. The protagonist stood looking at her, completely perplexed. Orpheus thought that wolves, orcs, vampires, what the hell is going on here? Could this be related to that person mentioned earlier? Livia asked the protagonist a question. He wouldn't leave everything as is, would he? He answered. Right. Then he asked Vania to describe all the hostages, their number, and also to tell them about the internal structure of the Ogre Settlement, everything she knew about this tribe. Vania, sitting in tears, asked, will he really help them? The protagonist explained that if this was left unpunished, the ogres would continue to expand their territory and, eventually, invade their village. The vampire began to cry and thank him. She said that if she could not save them, then he would definitely succeed. MC raised his finger and said that they needed to prepare thoroughly. First of all, they needed to study the ogre tribe and also strengthen their skills with Gacha. Then he began to think and said that he seemed to have forgotten something. Soon he exclaimed, right. He told everyone to hold hands and they began to improve their abilities. He remembered that the May Gacha season was almost over. Lately, he was busy with werewolves, slimes, and other things. There are only 22 spins left in a row. He has rainbow skills that he has not yet developed, so there is only one chance to obtain them. The system window showed Rainbow Skill. Appraisal level 3 max, Cultivation level 3 max, Yakushi level 3 max can be upgraded. Rainbow Summoner level 3 max, Monster Messenger level 3 max, Monster Guide level 2. Vania asked the protagonist, what's going on? He replied that he was using Gacha. She asked, Gacha? Livia explained that it was an extremely rare skill that a crest master possesses. With this skill, they can gain limitless power. At that moment, the protagonist pressed a button in the system window, and a chest appeared, from which skill balls flew out. The vampire was confused and asked, what is this? He received a boost, agility increase, magical fortress upgrade, boost, dagger technique, architecture, and level 1 recovery. He noted that the copper was the same as usual and was happy about the architecture. Now they can build better houses. Then he added that there was only one gold skill, water magic, which is very versatile, so he was even happy. Now he focused on the rainbow skills. He looked at the 2 balls and prayed for a monster guide, asking for it very hard. He got 2 level 1 monster guides. He was very happy, clenched his fists, stretched his arms up, and screamed with joy. Now he had available rainbow skills of level 5 and a maximum level 3 monster guide. The vampire asked if he really got the skills right now. He replied that it would be correct to say that it was a skill he already had, he just strengthened it. She said that she could not believe it. Not only could he get several extremely rare skills, but he could also strengthen them. Then he happily announced that something else interesting was coming soon. The date changed and the June assassin event appeared in front of him. It was the beginning of a new gacha.